I see I have a committee of 2. Okay.
That's all they need.
That's all you need, you're right. Okay, so everyone knows, AB 646 has been pulled and will be heard next week on Monday, June 28th. The following bills are on consent. Item 5, AB 1980, Hayashi, and item 15, AB 2566, Carter. And with that, do I have an author? They're still in committee on the assembly side.
In committee?
In session.
Well, I didn't even realize the assembly was meeting today.
Yeah.
I thought they were doing a check-in too.
No. So, we have an author. Good afternoon, Ms. Hayashi. You have 2 bills. You have actually 1, 2, 3, 4. You have 4 bills. And one is on consent. So you want to start with AB 1524, which is item 2.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair and members. I'm here to present AB 1524. This is a legislation that presents an alternative testing method for California dental licensure. This new pathway will permit California dental students to prove their skills throughout their dental schooling and eliminate the need and expense of securing a patient for a final clinical examination. And this bill is the culmination of a multi-year effort between the Dental Board, California Dental Schools, and the profession. I am submitting 2 amendments in committee today. The first will replace an inadvertent deletion of the English language requirement. And the second amendment was requested by the committee to require a comprehensive review of this process in 2016.
Okay. Witnesses in support? Good afternoon. We have a quorum. Excuse us. Call the roll.
McGrady McLeod.
Here.
Weiland. Onestad. Here. Calderon. Correa.
Here.
Flores.
Here.
Oropeza. Walters. Yee.
Go ahead, sir.
I've just heard that our board member came in. Yeah.
Thank you. Alan, you had to wait for Steve.
Nature called, and I'm very, very sorry.
You ever waited for anybody in your home? I'm going to wait for today. Okay, thank you.
Okay. There's Ms. Walters.
Go ahead.
Madam Chair and members of the committee, I'm Dr. Casagrande. I'm a member of the Dental Board. I have been for the last 4 years and chair of the examining committee for the last 4 years. This bill, AB 24, is and I'm testifying as a member of the board, is the answer to over 30 years, really, of discussion at the highest levels of organized dentistry, and will put California on the cutting edge of licensure on a national level. It took more than 3 years of hard work to develop a portfolio examination that would provide evidence that students entering the practice of dentistry possess the minimum requirements necessary to protect public health and safety through a process that ensures uniform testing standards. This alternative to the current dental examination will allow students trained in California to incorporate a clinical examination into the dental school curriculum. and with oversight, of course, by the dental board. We believe that the portfolio examination will provide a higher probability that the candidates who successfully complete the process will meet the board's minimum competency requirements while also providing greater protection and safety to the public. The competencies to be tested in the portfolio examination were identified by knowledgeable faculty, including deans, clinical instructors of the 5 dental schools, along with CDA in consultation with Comira Psychometric Services that did 2 studies to verify that portfolio is a valid exam. We also engaged the schools and CDA to craft a draft set of regulations that can go forward if and when AB 1524 is signed into law. And I appreciate the time, and thank you.
Thank you. Other witnesses in support?
Yes. Madam Chair, members of the committee, my name is Dr. James Coble. I'm the Dean of the College of Dental Medicine at Western University of Health Sciences in Pomona. I've also served for 8 years previously at a dental school as Dean back east, and I've been in dental education for over 30 years in 5 different states. And in those various roles, I've had the pleasure of working with different state boards and many other individuals and groups on entry-level licensure issues. In my opinion, AB 1524 solves many of the concerns that we have with the current entry-level licensure process. I believe it's a major positive step forward and could serve as an example for the rest of the country. And I applaud the Dental Board of California not only for its work on this bill, but for its willingness to collaborate with all the dental schools and the California Dental Association. I support this bill fully.
Thank you. Other witnesses in support?
Yes, good afternoon. I'm Dr. Alan Felsenfeld. I'm a professor of oral and maxillofacial surgery at the UCLA School of Dentistry, but today I appear as the Speaker of the House for the California Dental Association, representing the Board of Trustees and its 24,000 members. Our House of Delegates passed a resolution many years ago calling for the discontinuation of the use of human subjects for testing dentists in a freestanding post-graduation examination. At a minimum, it was not a scientifically valid examination. The portfolio examination as presented to you today represents a collaborative effort of the dental schools, the dental board, and the CDA representing the membership, designing an examination that means to be a more appropriate method of evaluating young dentists. Dental school is a rigorous and intense experience for our students. The portfolio examination is an integral reflection of this education and the clinical training that has been vetted by the psychometricians and has undergone significant discussion and debate with the ultimate agreement of all of the involved parties as to this process. The examination will eliminate the one-time static means of licensure that we now utilize and replace it with a longitudinal assessment of the quality of our dental students, a much more demanding means to demonstrate competence. In addition, if an individual fails to be successful in any phase of the examination, they can be remediated within the school. And if a patient gets what is considered to be a substandard restoration, it can be corrected as well. The California Dental Association, in full support of AB 1524. We hope that this legislation can be enacted as a means to further protect the people of California and to allow our well-trained dental students the ability to practice their chosen profession. We look forward to continuing to work with this group to help with the bill once it is enacted. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Other witnesses in support? And if you will just give me your name and your support. You can come right up here and just...
Hi, I'm Craig Yarborough, the Executive Associate Dean at the University of Pacific Arthur A. Degoni School of Dentistry. We're in support of AB 1524.
Thank you very much.
Good afternoon. My name is Dr. Stephen Morrow from Loma Linda University School of Dentistry. I am the Director of Patient Care Services and Quality Assurance, and I'm here in full support of AB 1524.
Thank you very much.
I'm Dr. William Morgan from the UCLA School of Dentistry, representing the Dean and the faculty and administration in voicing complete support for AB 1524.
Thank you.
Good Good afternoon. My name is Dr. Mark Kirkland. I'm from the University of California, San Francisco. I'm the Associate Dean for Clinical Affairs, and we're in complete support of AB 1524.
Thank you. That is a tall guy.
I'm Sigmund Abelson. I'm the Associate Dean for Clinical Affairs, University of Southern California, School of Dentistry. We are fully in complete support of this bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
My name is Angela Gilliard. I'm the Legislative Director for the University of California. I'm a little out of breath. We're in full support. Our experts are here testifying, but I just wanted to let you know the entire system is in support.
Okay, thank you very much. Anyone else in support? Is there any opposition to the bill? Questions from the members?
I'll move the bill.
We do have a question.
Madam Chair, thank you very much. And I don't know if it's your staff, Madam Chair, or the proponents, but can anybody kind of explain to me what the procedure is going to be? Clearly, what this bill does is to essentially vacate the current examination and to replace it with another type of examination. So when does the old one expire? When does the new one comes online? And if I can just kind of understand what exactly I'm voting for.
Okay.
I might answer that. Currently, we do have an examination. However, we had one person take the examination last year. For all intents and purposes, we don't give an exam anymore. That exam will end January 1 if the bill is enacted. And then we have a period of time until we get our regs. We believe that this will be in place 2013. In the meantime, we have the REB exam that is an alternative exam to our alternative exam, and they will be given the exams.
So the state of California then will roll out this new portfolio examination. And from the presentation that's been made thus far, you have gone to, I guess, your experts to at least made some determination that the exam supposedly is going to measure what you intended to measure as a good a set of skills that someone should have if they're going to practice dentistry.
That's correct.
Okay. The concern that I have then is that where is the data that somehow suggests or even indicate that this, in fact, is a good test, that this test, not just simply looking at it, but in terms of actually rolling it out and using it to measure those individuals who will, in fact, become licensed to practice or not to license to practice. Where is that data as to, number one, the efficacy of the exam based on data, the reliability, the standardization, the validity, and so on? Where's that step?
Would anyone like to take a stab at that? Jim?
I can take an attempt at that, Dr. Yee. At this point, this is a new process. This is the first time this has been done anywhere in the country. I think the validity comes with, number one, the psychometric evaluation that what we're actually testing in the portfolio is what dentists actually do and learn to do, whereas the standalone exams such as the Dental Board of California exam that will be phased out and the Western Regional exam that is currently being utilized by all of our students for the most part, test four things only. This is a very comprehensive, a much more intense process. The students have to go through a number of different clinical experiences and show that they've done lots of different procedures, and then they have rigorous testing, which is much more intense. The data does not exist because the system is new, and we will be looking at the data.
See, I think that's the concern I have. You know, I'm a psychologist, and I can tell you that I think that I can pull a body of individuals together, psychologists, that can come up with an IQ test for all the kids in the state of California. I can't give you the psychometrics of it. I can't tell you if it's a reliable test. I can't tell you if it's a valid test. I can't give you the standardization because I haven't done that yet. I'm still working on it. But I will tell you that all the individuals in my team will attest that this probably will measure pretty well, you know, the cognitive behavior of individuals. But whether or not in any objective data that will somehow suggest that, I don't have that yet. And it seems to me that rather than to go out there and do this, that you know, and make some hard decisions, because what if you get a lot of false positives, and get that data for us, and then come back and say, you know, gee, you know, we've done the study, this test is in fact valid, it's reliable, and here are the standardizations for the population here in California, and that's the reason why this test is in fact a good test.
I think, if I might, in testing throughout the nation right now, the testing that we have currently is the REB exam, a standalone exam that essentially wants to weed out the incompetent. And for our purposes at the board level, we are looking for an exam that deems that someone is minimally competent to go out and practice dentistry and not do harm to the public, that they're at that level of competency that they won't harm the public. So given that, this exam actually does the reverse. This brings in from the very top student, the most competent, down, all the way down to a level. We're weeding in, if you will, competent, most competent dentists in a class, down to whatever level it is. Those that are at the bottom of the level of competency are not going to be portfolio ready. So we've built in some stops. We thought about this. We've thought about it long and hard. And we've built in those stops that you're concerned with that will take that group that's at the bottom of every class. They're at the bottom of law school classes. They're at the bottom of med school classes. They're at the bottom of every class. They won't be portfolio. They're not going to be portfolio ready. The odds of them being portfolio ready are slim. They'll be ready for the REB probably a little bit further in their career as they get a little more competency in their school. We don't envision this to be 100% of a class. Again, weeding in the top down.
You know, I think I've stated my concern, but just to respond to you, my argument is not so much what your process is. My argument with you is I need to have some objective data that whatever procedure you set out there is in fact a valid one, a reliable one, and it's got the standardization data that somehow indicates that this is a good test, that you're not going to do any false positive, you're not going to do any false negative, and having that instrument for us, because ultimately, we're responsible to the public. I mean, what you're doing is more inside baseball. I mean, this is all controlled by the schools, by the dentists, and so on. But I need to somehow have independent data that I can then go to the general public that this is, in fact, a good measurement instrument that we have, replacing whatever instrument we are currently using.
Madam Chair. Did you have a question?
Mr. Allison,
okay, go ahead.
I think there's a little misconception, though, of what this exam is, Senator. The procedure right now is to teach to the California board exam. Okay, and so there are certain requirements and certain procedures that students have to do during the 4 years in order to become competent enough to take that exam. All these folks are saying is, as they're teaching them, let's test them as they're being taught, and let us then determine competency when they achieve that, not on any one given date at the end. So it's not necessarily a new exam we could put down on paper. Basically, all of the requirements are going to be the same as the current exam that they're taking today. It's just that the process is going to be given over a period of time where if the student shows competent in it, the student can be tested then, instead of everything being tested in a 3-day period at the end of the 4 years on a live patient. The student will be tested during a 3-year period with all of the clinical interaction that's going on during that period of time before they're given that stamp of competency. Currently, the Western Regional Exam is kind of what you're thinking about or talking about, which is a standardized test that is accepted by many different states, including California. And you can put down on a piece of paper, we're going to test this, this, and this, and this, and this. Okay. These folks are already teaching to that and testing to that, but they're going to be more inclusive in their data at the end, because they're going to be able to show that student, you're weak here, and before you pass it, you need to work on this, and then 6 months from now, let's take that portion again. That's basically what they're saying, is so that by the time they get done with their 4 or 5 years of dental school, they will have essentially passed, most of them will have essentially passed all of the current exam today. There is not a piece of paper that has gone, through a $50,000 review process as to whether it is competent, which is what you're asking, the standardized. That was done with the REB exam, or the Western Regional exam, and found to be competent. And basically all these folks are doing is saying, let's do that as a part of a process now rather than a 3-day period at the end of the year.
Senator Correa. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So that last exam where the student goes out and pays somebody to have the work done will no longer be part of this?
Correct.
I can tell you have a conflict with that. One of these fillings, actually, they paid me to do it, and it was a great job, by the way. That was at UCLA. So I think it was a good exam.
Was it at SC?
UCLA.
It was probably UCLA if it was a good filling that's lasted.
Yes, it was. It's lasted me.
But the thing is you showed. What about the patient that doesn't show? They don't show up that morning, and that entire exam.
Go out and get starving students like me. They would show up for the money.
Yes.
I may have an answer to the gentleman's question about data. One of my former roles was chairman of the American Dental Association Commission on Dental Accreditation, and our responsibility was to accredit all the dental programs in the country, and we use a competency-based system of accreditation. In other words, we go in and we demand that the school prove to us that they have a system of evaluation in place that assures us that their graduates are competent to go out and practice entry-level dentistry as beginning safe practitioners. In my view, this system that's being proposed builds on that. In other words, it's a much broader evaluation of far more skills and knowledge and ability than the current examining process. If you're looking for data, I would suggest we could look at the overall pass rates of national licensure examinations across the country at various states and various regions, and I think we would find that 96 to 100% of the graduates of U.S. dental schools either pass these exams on their first or second try. So I think what this board is trying to do is to build upon a very successful system that's been in place for many, many years.
Okay. No, I think we're okay. You're okay? Did you get your questions answered?
I think that the answer is rather empty in terms of the concerns I have. This is not about whether or not we should go into portfolio or not. Portfolio has been around for at least 25 years. We use it in high schools, we use it in colleges, and so on. The issue still is that while you are doing portfolio as an assessment, you still have to demonstrate that, in fact, whatever the portfolio strategy that you have is, in fact, a legitimate strategy, because our portfolio means that you're just going to use a lot of demonstration to determine their competency in that area. Then you have to ask the question: are those tests that you are going to have are they fair tests? And so that's the fundamental problem that I don't think that you understand nor you get or are you putting in this particular bill. That's the problem.
I think we want to just try to answer your question one more time, Madam Chair, if you don't mind.
Good morning, good afternoon. Richard DeCure, Executive Officer for the Dental Board of California. We did not go into this blindly. There have been 2 psychometric evaluations that the board has already done. The first, and that was by Camira. The first examination, or the first evaluation, psychometric evaluation, was done to determine whether or not portfolio was even possible. That was the first one. The second one we did was to determine what pieces of portfolio would be successful and should work. Those are the first two evaluations. That was done before we even crafted this piece of legislation. As one of the author's amendments we were looking at was to do a third evaluation after we implement. So there's actually two that have already been done, psychometric evaluations that have already been completed. And we're still looking at doing a third. So we, with all due respect, we didn't go in blindly at all, and we tried to do this from a psychometric perspective.
I mean, with all due respect, I think when you say psychometric, do you really know what you're talking about when you say psychometric? I mean, that's all about whether or not you have reliability, validity data. Your representatives already said that you don't have that yet. That all you've done is just kind of look at whether or not this thing looks right, feels right, and that's about it. But in terms of trying out whether or not this portfolio, is going to get you good results, or you're going to get, appropriate destinations rather than getting false positive, false negative. You don't have that. And I mean, one thing that would help warm me up a little bit more to the bill is that then give us that data before we then unleash this, to everyone.
Understood, Senator. And we actually brought the psychometrician company that did the first two evaluations here with us, if need be. We also provided staff with the evaluations that have already been completed. But we do have the company here with us on the two prior evaluations that were done, and they were intended to comply with Section 139 of the BNP Code, which requires they be legally defensible, that they be psychometrically sound. That's what we were after from day one.
Okay. Are there any other questions? I don't know, just from my own personal point of view, being a practical person, I think that if a student is going to any kind of school and you're testing them on the way to find out exactly where they're competent is much better for consumer safety, so that when they get out of school that they actually know what they're doing when they get out. So when they get ready into the world, that if you ask them to do anything, they're ready to do it. So is there a motion for the bill? Okay. All right, call for the vote. Oh, I'm sorry, did you wish to close? Okay.
We have a motion?
Yes.
Grady McLeod?
Aye.
Grady McLeod, aye. Wyland? Onestad? Onestad, aye. Calderon? Correa?
Aye.
Correa, aye. Flores? Aye. Flores, aye. Oropeza? Walters? Aye. Walters, aye. Yee?
No.
Yee, no. Okay. Just got 5-1.
It has 5 votes, enough to get out, but we're going to leave the roll open. We're expecting another member. Okay, thank you. With your second bill? Thank you.
I'd like to present AB 1647. Madam Chair and members, this bill will protect high school students from sports-related injuries by requiring schools to have an emergency plan and establish title protection for athletic trainers. Currently, anyone may declare themselves to be an athletic trainer in California. However, athletic trainers require extensive education and training. 47 other states license them as allied healthcare professionals. And to address concerns from the chiropractors, we are prepared to accept an amendment today that deletes the requirement that athletic trainers act only pursuant to protocols developed by physician and surgeon. If the committee is amendable to the First Amendment, I'd also like to delete the requirement that the Department of Education adopt a heat acclimation program. Today, on behalf of the bill's sponsor, Pat Moran is here to represent the California Athletic Trainers Association.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members. Pat Moran with Aaron Reed and Associates, representing the California Athletic Trainers Association. AB 1647 is a significant step toward educating consumers that athletic training is indeed a profession. It will help to differentiate California athletic training from personal training and ensures that only qualified individuals are holding themselves out as certified athletic trainers. With that, I'll conclude my comments and answer any questions, and we encourage an aye vote. Thank you.
Are there other people that are for the bill? Anyone else in support of the bill? Okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My name is Dean Grafila with the California Medical Association. I'd like to thank the author and sponsor and working with CMA to get us in support of this legislation. Thank you.
Thank you. So are you in support, or are you getting to support?
No, we're in support.
Oh, okay. Anybody else in support? Opposition?
I'm in between.
Okay. In between now.
Madam Chair and members, Monica Miller representing the California Chiropractic Association, and with the amendments that the Assembly member took today, we would be removing our opposition. Further, we'd like to thank both your staff as well as the sponsor and the Assembly member and her staff for working with us. So thank you very much.
You're welcome. Are you in between?
No. I want to be ambiguous about that. Madam Chair, members, Carl London on behalf of the California Physical Therapy Association. We've been opposed to the bill. It's the first we've heard of the amendments today, so we will certainly evaluate those, and it looks like it would address most of the concerns we have. The only remaining concern I'd point out is that in page 4 of the bill, lines 10 through 17, this seems to still go a little bit beyond just strict title protection by suggesting that nobody else can do anything that relates to athletic training services. We don't mind at all the concept of having the title protected, where it would be certified athletic trainer or athletic trainer certified ATC. No problem with that at all, but where it suggests that people can engage in, like on line 16, in athletic training services or activities, or that they would use the term. We do have physical therapists around the state, most of whom these days are receiving a doctorate in physical therapy, that do provide athletic training services, sometimes as volunteers for high school teams, sometimes as paid, and we'd like to have that clarified to make sure that our members are not running afoul of the law by continuing to provide those services that clearly fall within their scope of practice and that they're doing today for the schools throughout California. So with that, I think we'd be completely off the bill. We just need that language tweaked a little bit to make sure that our guys aren't getting jumped for doing the things that they're currently doing.
Okay. Other opposition?
I'm sorry, if I may add as well, we passed out to you a consensus statement off of the NETA's website that talks about it, particularly if you look at this back page, we've highlighted some key sections. If you look at the second page, it very clearly says within their definitions that other healthcare professionals with equivalent certification and or licensure would also meet the standard. There's references throughout this that recognizes the fact that other professionals do some of these activities, and we just want to make sure that that's not limited in the bill.
Okay, thank you. There's somebody else in opposition. You're in opposition, right? You're not in between.
We have a concern.
And you are?
Stephen Hartsoe, the Executive Officer of the Physical Therapy Board of California. The board has not taken a specific position on the bill, but with the analysis and the amendments, we do have a concern. It's our understanding that currently athletic trainers do not actually do health care. They work with athletes to prevent injury. In the bill under the 1888-98 and B, and it says an athletic trainer shall engage in athletic training activities, and it goes on. But when you read the analysis, it includes a definition from the National Association of what athletic training activities would be. And they're quite extensive, including diagnosis. And it could be construed that someone could read these two things together and say that was what was intended. And so I would encourage the author to look at that and maybe be a little, I know this bill is only meant to be title protection, but when you look at the things together, someone could think that people may be going way beyond that. And so I would offer any assistance I can to work on making sure the bill is clear so there's no confusion in the future. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? Questions from the members? Are there any questions?
I guess just one general question, which is that, so are we looking at the term athletic trainer, or are we looking at the term certified athletic trainer?
Certified athletic trainer.
Okay, so if we say, because the way I read the bill, it says athletic trainer, which to me is a generic term that we're not going to be able to codify. And if you want to make some kind of amendment to the bill that says this is going to cover people who are certified as athletic trainers through whatever certifying agency, that's all the difference in the world. But the way the bill reads to me right now, it's basically saying nobody can use the term athletic trainer unless they have achieved the term athletic trainer, unless they've gotten this certification. which I don't think is possible.
And Senator, if I may add, you're exactly right on line 16. Again, it goes a little bit further and says engages in athletic trainer activities. So it even gets broader because it says even things that would be related to that could be possibly picked up by that as well. And that's our concern, exactly. Thanks.
We'll be willing to clarify that, Senator.
Did you want to say anything?
And I'll be willing to vote for it next time.
Through the chair.
He's going to clarify.
I just want to clarify the amendments you're offering.
Yes.
You are deleting on page 4 lines 5 through 9, which is subsection B. Okay. If doing that, then you would have to change lines 16 and 17 to reflect.
That addresses, I believe, Mr. London's concern. If
Right.
we're prepared to delete the language to specifying athletic trainer activities.
Okay.
We'd also be willing to address Mr. Onestad's concern by clarifying that what we're trying to protect here is the term certified athletic trainer.
Not athletic trainer.
We'd be willing to accept that as committee and our office
So it
amendments.
would just be certified athletic.
Certified athletic trainer.
Okay.
And Madam Chair, with that, I'm pretty sure that we would remove our opposition to the bill as well. So thank you.
Madam Chair, I also wanted clarification. We want to make sure with those amendments, any remaining opposition or anybody else remain opposition? Very good. Thank you.
Okay.
These amendments need to be taken in education.
Okay. Hold on, I'm going to sneeze. Okay. Amendments will be taken in Education Committee. Okay. All right.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
So the last amendment is to add in the word certified into the bill.
No, just to delete athletic trainer as the title protection, but only title protection for certified athletic trainer.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's my understanding. Did you wish to? Okay. So that would remove the opposition. Is that, we're clear then? Okay. Did Mr. London leave? So that would remove the opposition?
Sorry, what was the? I'm sorry, Bill. I didn't hear the.
So the bill is to certify.
Yeah, if
title protection for using the term certified athletic.
Bingo. We'd be fine with that. Exactly. Thank you.
All right. Okay. Any other questions from any of the members? Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Okay. So the bill has been moved.
Negrete McLeod?
Aye.
Negrete McLeod, aye. Wyland? Onestad? Calderon? Correa?
Aye.
Correa, aye. Flores? Oropeza? Walters? Yee?
Aye.
Yee, aye. It's 3-0 right now.
It's 3-0. We'll leave the roll open. We still are. Yes.
Not clearly understanding exactly how it's going to read after all the amendments we took. I'll give you an aye vote today to move it along. Let's get it out of this committee, but let's reserve the right to look at it again.
Yes.
Onestad, aye.
Okay. Okay, and your item 5 is on consent, and your last bill is item 7, AB 2104.
Thank you. Madam Chair, members, 2104 will result in greater accountability and transparency at the Board of Pharmacy. I've been working with the Department of Consumer Affairs on this issue, and I am introducing amendments today to address their concerns. And with those changes, the bill will require the board to receive DCA approval when seeking its executive officer and sponsoring legislation. I respectfully ask for your aye vote today.
Hi, Madam Chair. Member Stephanie Roberson on behalf of the California Nurses Association in support of this measure. We think the criteria in this bill moves consumer protection in the right direction. And as a representative of registered nurses, we fully support consumer protection and protecting the public and our patients. So with that, I would ask for an aye vote. Thank you.
Sarah Flox from the California Labor Federation, and we also are in strong support of this bill. Thank you very much.
Any opposition to the bill? Okay, if you'll stand and let the opposition come forward.
Good to see you again, Senator McGarty McLeod. It's, I want to thank you for the opportunity. Thank you, and thank members of this committee. It's an honor to be before you. My name is Stan Weiser, and I'm president of the State Board of Pharmacy. I'm a governor's appointee, and I am a community pharmacist. I graduated from the University of Connecticut School of Pharmacy in 1963, and I opened my first professional pharmacy, at the time that was a pharmacy in a medical building, in 1969. And from that beginning, my wife and I built a chain of 30 independent professional pharmacies from the high desert, Victorville, to the Mexican border, San Ysidro. Currently, I'm a member of the faculty of Loma Linda University School of Pharmacy. I teach community pharmacy. Madam Chairperson, the Board of Pharmacy respectfully opposes Assembly Bill 2104. This bill would require approval of the Department of Consumer Affairs to appoint a person exempt from civil service as our executive officer. The ability for the board to appoint its own executive officer is essential for the independence that the board needs. And this bill will cause us to seek approval from the Department of Consumer Affairs prior to sponsoring legislation. The Board of Pharmacy's primary focus is consumer protection. Consumer protection is much more than enforcing licensing standards and much more than initiating enforcement actions. Consumer protection, in my view, includes devising and implementing prevention strategies for the misuse of dangerous drugs and devices, and for eliminating unnecessary barriers to access to vital health care resources. It is necessary that we, the board, maintain vigilance to ensure outdated laws are updated or repealed, and new laws reflecting new practices or responding to emergency issues are enacted. Legislation and regulation involving licensing and enforcement activities of the board must be continually evaluated to ensure that minimum standards for competency in my profession are set and are maintained. The current structure of the board and its close working relationship with the Department of Consumer Affairs ensures that the department is apprised of legislative activities of the board, and moreover, the legislative process, which to me means that any proposal developed by the board must be accepted by a legislator as the author to introduce it, must be passed by both houses of the legislature, and must be signed by the governor. The legislative process underscores how thorough the review of any legislative proposal is. The Board of Pharmacy believes that AB 2104 would unnecessarily hamper our ability to communicate with the legislature and to make and pursue recommendations regarding matters of public interest impacting the practice of pharmacy. Madam Chairperson and members of the committee, the Board of Pharmacy and I believe that AB 2104 is unnecessary, and we request your nay vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Other witnesses?
I'm Virginia Harold. I'm the board's executive officer. If anyone has questions of the executive officer, I'm here.
Okay. Anybody else in opposition of this bill? Questions from the members?
So as the executive officer, you really work right now at the will of the board.
I do. And the concern with this bill, with having the director, it's improved with the proposed amendments of the Assemblywoman. But the other agencies that have to have the approval of the director have, in the past, run into problems either in terms of being sunsetted or have had another problem that has triggered the need for a review. We respectfully assert that we don't have such a situation here. We work in the public domain. We work very hard to be visible and approachable, and we do need to pursue legislation in order to achieve our consumer protection mandate.
Madam Chair, question.
Yes.
Has this board had any issues? We have Have you had to be reconstituted or anything of the sort?
Mercifully, no. There's no need. We work very hard. We have a very controversial issue right now before us with respect to prescription labels, the redesign of prescription labels. And we've been working on it for 3 years. We're continuing to work on that, and everyone's mad at us there, which is true of what happens when you have a true controversial issue, and we're wading through it. But no, we have never been reconstituted. We have a very strong and effective enforcement program. We have already this year filed 242 accusations against our licensees. We collected $1.2 million last year in citations and fines. We have a very aggressive, very strong enforcement program.
Thank you.
Okay, so, all right, so you're going to take, okay, on page 7, which was a comment that raised a policy issue. You know, why couldn't it just be reconstituted if instead of doing rather than having the executive officer appointed by the governor?
Actually, I think I'm taking an amendment that would require the DCA director to approve prior approval when hiring an executive officer as opposed to the governor. That's one of the amendments I'm
Okay,
taking
so any
today.
legislation that came through this committee would have to be approved by the director?
Yes, I'm also, I think the second amendment is to require the board to get prior approval from the department when sponsoring legislation, not necessarily when taking a position on a legislation.
Okay.
So there are a couple set of amendments.
Okay. Situation clarifications?
No.
Okay. All right. So that's it. No questions? Okay. Can I have somebody move the bill?
Give a courtesy motion.
Okay. Call for the vote.
Negrete McLeod.
Not voting.
Wyland. Onestad. Onestad, no. Calderon. Correa.
Not voting.
Flores. Oropeza. Walters.
No.
Walters, no. Yee. 0-2 right now.
Okay. Okay. All right.
May I request for reconsideration?
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all. Good to see you.
Huber is next.
Okay, Ms. Huber, please. She's got reconsideration on that bill.
Right.
Okay. Good afternoon. How are you?
Good afternoon.
Are you all
Very
done over
well.
there on that other side, or are they still talking?
When I left, they were still talking.
Oh, my gosh. Okay. Ms. Huber has, let's see, where are you at? I saw you somewhere. Okay, item 4. AB 1659.
Yes, and thank you, Madam.
Before we do that, could I have a motion to do, Mimi, would you, could I have a motion for the consent before we lose everybody? Okay. Consent. We have 2 consent items. Item 5, AB 1980, Ms. Hayashi, and 15, AB 2566, Ms. Carter.
Negrete McLeod.
Aye.
Negrete McLeod, aye. Wyland. Onestad. Onestad, aye. Calderon. Correa.
Aye.
Correa, aye. Flores. Flores, aye. Oropeza. Walters. Walters, aye. Yee.
Okay. Thank you. Excuse me. Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair and committee members. I wanted to start actually by thanking the committee staff for doing such a thorough analysis of the history of Sunset Review in California. I appreciate having the details and the dates of the entire history, and as the analysis states, this bill is an effort to try to revive the Sunset Review process here in California, not just on those things under the Business Professions Code, but the larger grand picture of we continue to create agencies, departments, bureaus, boards without looking back to ask the fundamental question of whether or not they've solved the problem they were created to solve, whether they've made a dent in it, whether the problem's worse than when the entity was created. And this policy bill of AB 1659 sets up that framework with the hope that we will start doing that vigorous review and asking the question of even across different policy areas, whether or not we have multiple different agencies all trying trying to solve the same problem and doing that long-term review so that we know that we are spending our tax dollars wisely and are getting the most bang for our buck. And I have with me, testifying in support of the bill, Michael Shaw from NFIB, with the Chair's permission.
Okay. Witnesses in support.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chairwoman and members of the committee. Michael Shaw with the National Federation of Independent Business. It sounds cliche, but there is some truth to the saying that the government should operate more like a business. There are definitely caveats to that in terms of the services that are provided by government, but the fact of the matter is that businesses are forced to, on a daily basis, look at what they're doing to ensure that it is the most effective use of their dollars. And that is really how the state should be looking at the services, and particularly the agencies, boards, and commissions, the bureaucracy that is instituted in order to implement a lot of the laws and regulations that are put in place by this body. So this bill simply states that we're going to do that. And there's certainly an acknowledgement of this issue from current legislative leadership, and that's very encouraging. A number of bills across both parties that have looked at this issue of ensuring that Californians are getting the best bang for their buck. But while their current leadership is focused on doing this, the question becomes, what about the next round of leadership? And I think that's why it's important that this bill stating the policy be put in place here in California, so that regardless what happens with the next round of leadership in terms of their focus, the status of the budget, and so on and so forth, the next administration downstairs, that we are doing this in a responsible manner. And for small businesses, I think the question, or I should, as legislators, here, the question you should be asking yourselves is, why can't we have labor law enforcement, environmental protection, and a successful economy? While ensuring that taxpayers are getting the best value for the dollar that they're providing, and that we're not creating hurdles that are unnecessary for California businesses to grow, for entrepreneurs to start new businesses in this state, and frankly to put more Californians back to work.
Thank you. Any more witnesses in support? Is there any opposition to this bill? Questions from the members? None. Okay. Do I have a motion? Okay. Bill has been moved.
Negrete-McLeod?
Aye.
Negrete-McLeod, aye. Wyland? Anastad? Aye. Anastad, aye. Calderon? Correa? Flores? Aye. Flores, aye. Oropeza? Walters? Yee.
Okay.
Right now that's 3.
It has 3, but we're leaving it open because we're expecting other members. Thank you very much.
Salas is next.
Ms. Salas? Ms. Salas has item 6, AB 2076.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Madam Chair and members. I want to begin by accepting the author's amendments, which are reflected in the committee analysis. And I'm pleased to present AB 2076. It's a narrowly tailored consumer disclosure protection measure intended to provide consumers with information about the physical location of floral vendors in advertisements. Specifically, the bill does 2 things. First, it requires floral vendors who use local phone numbers to disclose their physical address in advertisement. Second, it requires floral vendors who use local names to disclose their physical presence, their physical address in advertisement. The bill seeks to address the issue of absentee florists. When floral companies use local phone numbers and local names in advertisements, such as Chula Vista Flower Shop, but in reality they are located 1,000 miles away. As a result, consumers are duped into believing that they are patronizing a local business. If you call yourself Chula Vista Flower Shop, it implies that you're located in Chula Vista, and you should not in reality be located thousands of miles away. A consumer has a right to know if they are doing business with a local company or someone located thousands of miles away, and when given a choice, they may choose to buy locally. At the federal level, Congress passed a resolution, and the Federal Trade Commission issued a consumer advisory on the activities of absentee florists. 23 other states have similar statutes in place to protect consumers. It is time for California, the #1 state for floral sales, to join 23 other states, Congress, and the Federal Trade Commission in protecting consumers. The bill passed Assembly with bipartisan support. I urge you to join me in helping inform and protect consumers of floral products and to protect California businesses. And I respectfully ask for your aye vote. And I have with me here supporters to answer any technical questions you may have.
Okay. I'm Ann Quinn. I'm director of the California State Floral Association, and we totally support this bill and ask for your A vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other witnesses in support?
Hi, this is Dennis Albiani, also with the California State Floral Association today, and I just wanted to address some of the issues that are outstanding. First of all, this bill has been run before, and Ms. Salas was so nice to take it up again after she had that. We sat down with the Department of Consumer Affairs early on, and they brought up several questions. And one of those questions is, the previous version and the version that had gone to the governor before, send it through call centers. It was somewhat confusing. The amendments that we were planning on taking at the next stop, because that's how we worked with the consultant, make this even. It applies to all businesses, whether they're a local flower shop in Chula Vista or a call center in New Jersey that's running that through. So it's an equitable standard that everybody will meet. It's just a truth in advertising bill that will let everybody work from the same rules, let the consumer know. And why flowers? And that's a question we get quite a bit. Well, purchase of flowers is a unique commodity in the fact that a lot of times we will call up a florist we think it's on J Street, and we call them up and we say, hey, we want you to do this. We call 411, and we're looking for that specific name, Sacramento Florist. And we may say it wrong. We may say, it's Sacramento Floral and Gift. Somebody has purchased that name, that fictitious name, and it sends you to out of state. You also buy sight unseen. So you say, I'm willing to spend $50. Just send me $50 worth of flowers to, Senator Salas, or Assemblymember Salas. I'm getting ahead of myself. And so we may do that, and there's an expectation that there's a certain amount that what $50 is, and that's what they're not getting. They're not getting an equitable product. They're not getting necessarily local flower shops buy more in-state flowers, so it's good for the growers and it's good for California in a whole. So we recommend your support, and we are working with the administration to try to address their concerns.
Thank you. Other witnesses? Any witnesses in opposition? Questions from the members? Yes.
Just so if there's a local area code and telephone number, this would make it unlawful to have that on your advertisement?
No. It just means you have to put your city that your actual physical address is in. And it used to be that if you used a local phone number.
My next question would be, why distinguish this industry from others?
And that's the why floral. And the issue is, you don't buy necessarily eyeglasses from that way, sight unseen. A lot of times we do that.
You do with contact lenses.
Fair enough.
Yes, you do.
Fair enough. Yeah. But the standard that you're meeting. It's a 20/40 in your eyes. So that the floral industry is an area where you buy quite often on the phone. You don't go to the physical address. These entities are using that business, standard to prey on entities. In the example we use with Sacramento Flower Shop, might be a real flower shop. They go and they purchase all the names around that. And the way 411 works is if you say floral and gift, then you may not be going to the local entity to which has built up goodwill and a business practices and advertised. And so what this would require is everybody who uses a local number, just a local number, to put the city you're in. And so it'd be, if you are Chula Vista, as the assembly member brought up, then it would say Chula Vista, California, and you'd put your address. And then the second part, there's two standards. One is local phone number, and then if you use a local name, then you put the name of your city of actual business address. Because what we have is people think they're using local floral shops because they've seen the advertising, they've seen the promotion, but they've bought a names similar to that, and and they're just using a call center outside of in New Jersey, and it routes it through. These local number goes to New Jersey, then New Jersey goes back and takes in the amount of what studies have shown, almost 40% gets taken off, stays in New Jersey, and then then they either go to a wire service or a contract, and then the consumer's duped. The consumer thinks you bought it from the local flower shop. You may even go and complain. Ann could talk quite a bit about those, where people actually come in and say, I bought this from you and it was not up to my expectations. The people were dissatisfied.
If I can, what I'm trying to figure out in my mind is, that's one factor. The other factor, most of the flowers now, a whole bunch of flowers are now really imported from other countries. So is that an issue here as well?
No, because the flower shops would use that. Well, first of all, California State Floral Association represents a cross-section of the industry, both the retail industry, which is the flower shop, as well as flower growers.
Okay. Thank you.
I have a question. If I were to buy, let's say I call Sacramento Florist, and it's not really Sacramento Florist, it's an out-of-town thing, where do the flowers come from, and who puts them together?
There's two ways that would happen. Often they may have a contract or a wire service where that goes out, and then it comes back into California, and it may go to an entity that does it somewhere in Sacramento or in the outlining areas, and that's probably the most common, correct, Ann? Or it could come in via, an out-of-state service where they're transporting it FedEx or UPS over the mail. But most commonly, they take a cut and then wire it in, and so on a $50 retail transaction, it might result in $29 going to the flower shop and $21 staying out of state. And then that brings up also tax issues that get very complex that we could discuss, but that's an issue. It's been talked about in the analysis and in our letters too. But
right, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Okay. The bill has been moved.
To pass as amended.
As amended.
McGrady-McLeod?
Aye.
McGrady-McLeod, aye. Wyland? Onestad?
No.
Onestad, no. Calderon? Correa? Flores? Flores, aye. Oropeza? Walters? Yee? Yee, aye. It's 3-1 right now.
3-1, and we're going to leave that open.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Right. Mr. Smythe has item 8, AB 2111.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and in committee, I'm here to present AB 2111, which is an effort to improve consumer protection in the area of service contracts and make several changes to existing law regarding the regulation of service contracts here in the state of California. Current law with respect to vehicle service contracts is unclear and subject to multiple interpretations. AB 2111 would allow a vehicle service contract provider to calculate refunds due on a canceled vehicle service contract based on either elapsed time or mileage, with the method of calculation being selected at the time of cancellation rather than at the outset of the contract. This clarifies existing law as interpreted by the Department of Insurance and results in refund calculations that are driven by a consumer's choice as to how they use their vehicle. With respect to consumer goods, current law has several deficiencies that we feel AB 2111 will address. California is the only state in the country that does not allow third parties to be obligated under a service contract. This creates a significant administrative burden for several contract providers who, for the most part, operate on a national level. And our current laws are currently inconsistent with the National Association of Insurance Commissioners. AB 2111 also slightly policy expands the list of items that a service contract can cover to include accessories of electronic sets or appliances or optical products such as eyeglasses. And finally, AB 2111 would authorize third parties to sell service contracts as long as their obligations under those contracts are backed by an insurance policy. Failure to back those obligations would be classified as unlawfully transacting the business of insurance. With me is Kelly Jensen from Service Contract Industry Council to answer any questions and explain the need for the bill as the committee wishes.
Witnesses in support.
Yes, Madam Chair. Thank you, Kelly Jensen, representing the Service Contract Industry Council. We are the sponsor of this bill in support of it. Believe that this will, as the author has indicated, will sync up California law with national standards. As it relates to the optical products, there were companies offering optical products in California. The department contacted them and believes there needs to be a statutory permission for that, and that's why we have put it in the bill to make it explicit that you can sell a service contract on an optical product.
Thank you. Other witnesses in support.
Madam Chair, members, Jeff Fuller of the Association of California Insurance Companies. We do support the bill because the Department of Insurance has flip-flopped on interpretations in this area, and this bill now makes California law consistent with the rest of the country, so it promotes commerce, and we think it's a good bill.
Thank you. Others?
Good afternoon. Erin Norwood on behalf of Caltex Protective Coatings. I want to thank the author and the sponsor for working with us on some amendments and urge your support of the bill.
Okay. Anybody else in support?
Afternoon, Madam Chair, members. Alex Alanis with the California Bankers Association. Just want to thank the author and the sponsor for addressing some of our concerns relating to the definition of obligor. They address the concerns sufficiently, so we remove our opposition from the bill.
Thank you. Anyone else in support? Is there opposition to the bill?
Move the bill.
Okay. Is there any questions from the members? The bill has been moved.
Grady McLeod?
Aye.
Grady McLeod, aye. Wyland? Onestad?
Aye.
Onestad, aye. Calderon? Correa?
Aye.
Correa, aye. Flores?
Aye.
Flores, aye. Oropeza? Walters? Yee?
Aye.
Yee, aye.
Okay.
5-0 right now.
Okay. You're how many?
5-0.
5-0. It has sufficient votes, but we're keeping it open.
Thank you very much.
We have a couple of members
Certainly.
out.
Thank you, committee.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Huffman, please. Items 9, 2256.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair.
Good afternoon.
Members, I'm presenting AB 2256. Oh, that was kind of dramatic.
That was your bell that let you
The
go.
gong.
Yes. It was the gong. It was the gong.
Madam Chair, when products are advertised and labeled as being flushable, it's important that those claims are true, that those products have been actually tested and validated. Wastewater treatment operators spend huge amounts of time and money dealing with clogs, equipment failures, and spills caused by products that accumulate in their systems, products that should never have been labeled flushable or flushed in the first place. And what happens in the wastewater treatment and sewage system matters for our environment, and it matters for our pocketbooks. And part of the problem is there's currently no state or federal standard for flushability. And to date, there hasn't been any action by any state or federal agencies to address this problem. So this bill attempts to address the problem by looking at the best examples of product stewardship from the consumer product industry itself. AB 2256 codifies a report by INDA, which is an industry association which represents groups of product manufacturers who've been very diligent in testing and validating their products' flushability character. INDA's report provides guidance for assessing flushability based on scientifically accepted tiered criteria, and I think is an appropriate standard for us to use to address this problem. I've been working closely with consumer product manufacturers to address their concerns. We've been able to remove the opposition of most of them. We're going to continue working with them. This is a bill that's supported by the League of Cities, the Association of Sanitation Agencies, and various water and sanitation agencies throughout the state. So here today with me is Mike Dillon from CASA and Kira Ross with the League of Cities.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members. Briefly, Mike Dillon, representing the California Association of Sanitation Agencies. We're 120 of the largest agencies in the state responsible for wastewater treatment. With the increased popularity of the flushable wipes, our agencies are reporting significant problems at the pumps themselves. And the picture that you got, not the most pleasant picture, but it shows in these deep wells with the pumps that spin around that move the water along. We call it ragging, where these materials almost become like thick ropes. So as a result of this ragging at the pumps, they're facing costly repairs now. Motors that used to last maybe 15, 20 years are now lasting 2 or 3 years, where they used to have to clean them maybe twice a year. In one agency, they had to go out 19 times in a 5-month period. And in some cases, the pumps have completely stopped, resulting in sewer spills. The Kimberly-Clark letter to you mentions that some of the spills are caused by fats, oil, and grease, and some are also caused by roots. But that's not what we're talking about here. Those are separate spills. We're talking about the pumps in these big, deep wells where there's mostly water, and then these materials come in. And in fairness to Kimberly-Clark and some of the others, as Mr. Huffman has mentioned, we have been working on this. They have come out to some of our agencies to take examples and so forth. And also, we're trying to educate the public about things that you shouldn't flush down the toilet. Part of the problem, to be honest, is we think labeling needs to be addressed as well on some of these packages that are pretty good size. The size of the "don't flush down the toilet," the little toilet symbol with a line through it, is about the size of a pencil eraser, and that's mixed in with a lot of other writing and so forth. So for these and other reasons, we're in strong support of Mr. Huffman's bill. It's gone a long way. A lot of amendments have been made, and we think it's going to be the impetus that's needed to address this problem. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. Kiara Ross from the League of California Cities in support of the bill. And as Mr. Dillon said, this is a big issue for a number of our public water agencies and cities. We've seen a number of these problems arise where it's been very costly, unsanitary issues. They can lead to the sanitary system overflows. And in many cases, this has really cost cities a lot of money. And if they don't fix the problem, they can face pretty large fines before their regional boards. So this is a large issue. We think it needs to be addressed. We've additionally done a lot of education already, and even sending information out on a monthly basis in our newsletters is still not doing the trick. So we're seeking additional help on this issue. Strong support of the bill.
Are there any other witnesses in support? Is there anybody in opposition to the bill? Questions from the members? Yes.
And maybe, Mr. Dillon, you can help me with this too, but the way I understand it is the bill is going to use the guidelines as published by the Association of the Non-Woven Fabrics Industry, dated 2012. So the guidelines haven't been published yet. And yet we're putting this in code that we're going to use those guidelines. And then the second question is, we're going to use this criteria, but it listed in opposition is the same group. The Association of Non-Woven Fabrics Industry is in opposition to this bill, saying it's not going to work. I'm confused.
I think I can address part of your question, Senator. First, the guidelines are published right now, and it is our intent to use the guidelines as they're currently published. A question arose about what if they're revised, and I think there's some revision underway that may take place in 2012. And our answer to that is we'll have to come back and do a cleanup bill at that point if indeed it's revised, and that becomes the standard that we want to incorporate. As to the second part of your question, maybe I can look to Mr. Dillon.
You get the hard one.
I think your question, Senator, was what help is it going?
No, INDA,
the opposition of INDA
guidelines, but they're in opposition to this bill.
Well, maybe I will take away. Yeah. I don't think INDA intended its guidelines to become some sort of codified set of guidelines, and I think it's understandable that India, which is halfway across the country, is reluctant to get involved in how we codify standards here in California. But the fact is, the India guidelines are the best we've got right now. And they're the most workable for the industry itself because they developed them. So in the meantime, if we can come up with something better, I would applaud that. Right now, from all of the work that we've done, including working with the companies and with India, this is the best standard we've got.
But, sir, the best standard that you got, those folks are saying this bill specifically isn't going to work because now people are going to remove the labels.
Well, I would respectfully disagree with that claim.
Okay.
Thank you.
Witnesses in opposition.
Madam Chair, Senators, thank you. My name is Steve Ogle. I represent INDA, the Associated Non-Woven Fabrics Industry. We're a nonprofit organization, and we have over 300 members of manufacturers in the nonwovens industry, many of them making consumer products that are addressed by Assemblyman Huffman's bill. The guidelines, the question that was asked about the guidelines were over 4 years in development based on a study done by WERF, which is the Water Environment Research Federation or Foundation. They did a study, recommended that the guidelines be developed. We spent 4 years working with the industry to do so. The guidelines were implemented in 2008. There is a second revision that was brought on by questions by Dutch Wastewater Treatment. And because of those officials' questions, we have worked on and are releasing a second generation of the guidance document. And this is a living document. It is a self-regulated document by the industry. And today, our research shows that almost all of our manufacturers in the industry are following the guidelines. One of the things I wanted to bring out was the fact that we wanted to get to the heart of the issue, and as a result, we've been reaching out to the wastewater treatment facilities for several years since the guideline was released. And recently, two of the sanitation districts that Assemblyman Huffman have cited, we've addressed those. We've talked to them. I visited those facilities along with a team of technical people from the companies that helped develop the guidance document. And what we saw were there were no flushable products in what they found. The products we did find in those products we're still trying to address. There is a research program going on with the University of Carolina, Berkeley, in which this is a 1-month development program. We're working with them. We should be done by the end of the month. We believe that this study will help us find the conclusion of what actually is causing the pumps and the problems. We also believe that consumer education, not regulation, is more likely to impact improper disposal of products that are being found in the wastewater treatment facilities. Discussions with these and other associations like SCAP have impressed upon us that we need more of these types of people to help us finish developing and continue to develop this guideline. And therefore, we've asked them to have representatives on our review board to review our process as we go forward developing this science-based study. Please allow the industry and the sanitation districts to continue the progress towards finding the proper solution to this issue. We are very concerned, and we want to help. I have photographs of products that are disposable and what they actually look like. There's also photographs in that of paper that is currently used, dry toilet paper, and of non-flushable products that are labeled as non-flushable by the industry. Thank you.
I got to say, after your testimony, though, I'm not clear whether you're in support or not, or sitting on the fence or what. What do you want us to do with this bill?
Well, we represent the entire industry.
Do you want us to vote for it or against it?
We would just as soon you vote against it.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, my name is Branch Simcule. I'm with Kimberly-Clark Corporation. The product in the blue package, the Cottonelle wipes that passed around, I wasn't suggesting any of you senators or staff are hygienically challenged. It was just intended to be an exhibit. An example, in case you're not familiar with the category of flushable products that aren't bath tissue like toilet paper, but actually a moist product designed for helping consumers with their hygiene. That indeed is one of the focuses of Assemblymember Huffman's bill. I wanted to certainly confirm what the author had indicated about how accessible he's been thus far to the industry. He's been obviously a very quick study about the ENDA guidelines and how they depend on sound science and the real marketplace to self-regulate the industry. So I certainly want to applaud the author, his work in that area thus far. And certainly based on our engagement to date with individual sanitary districts, doing some outreach with them to do some analysis, the representative of ENDA indicated that UC Berkeley is the university that's providing some research assistance, working with Central Contra Costa Sanitation District to get a better handle on what the products are that are clogging up some of the pumps in that particular sanitary district. The opposition, the basis for Kimberly-Clark's opposition to the bill, and I would suspect that ENDA's concerns about the bill are similarly grounded, is that the bill is a 1% solution. It is looking at addressing clogging issues that in some cases have led to sanitary sewage overflows in certain sanitary districts, but it is only looking at a very narrow spectrum of influences. And even within if you ignore fat oils, grease, root intrusion, aging infrastructure, design issues, those other issues, and you look solely on the products, even if you look at the products that are showing up in the system, products that are labeled as flushable, and as you might imagine, designed for that purpose, are a very, very small percentage of those products based on the data that we've gotten thus far. We hope that the research and the outreach with the sanitary districts will give greater clarity so that we can get closer to an educated discussion about what the causes are and what solutions might be within reach. Most likely not legislative. If we have our druthers, it'll be something that's targeted more narrowly towards certain consumers that perhaps are primarily responsible for putting non-flushable products in the system, whether it's paper towels, cleaning wipes, dental floss. There's a wide range of items that have shown up thus far in the sampling. So we would just urge the committee to give the industry and sanitary districts an opportunity to do more research. The research is underway, and to look at some more targeted solutions than a new state statute.
Anybody else that's in opposition? If you could stand and let the others go.
Mike Kroge with California Manufacturers and Technology Association. We just believe similarly that it makes more sense to really understand the root cause of the problem before passing a state law, and we believe this bill is premature, so we urge your no vote. Thank you.
Thank you.
Robert Callahan, California Chamber of Commerce. We remain opposed for the reasons stated. Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else? Questions from the members? Mr. Correa?
I don't have a question, but rather a comment. First of all, kudos to the author bringing up this issue. I think this is a major problem, but I think the solution, just thinking about my experience in other countries, is that the only thing we ought to be flushing down, I won't get graphic here, but those things that this fixture was designed for and nothing else. And I think that's a challenge. I don't think anything else should be flushed down, and I think the solution is really more of an educational one as opposed to legislative. Just don't flush anything down other than the bare minimals.
If I might, Senator, I certainly agree with you. A large part of the problem is exactly what you just said. But we do know for a fact that part of the problem is also products that literally tell consumers, this is flushable, you should flush it. And it's not just the good guys out there. You've been handed an example of an ENDA member's product, and these are folks that are doing it the right way. They're very careful, and that's why we've designed a solution here that asks nothing of ENDA members. Under this bill, ENDA members won't have to do a single thing differently than they do right now. You can't be more accommodating of good actors in industry than that. But what it will do is it will address folks that are non-ENDA members that are telling consumers to do things like flush these doggy bags, like flush these diaper liners, like flush these flushable wipers. This is reckless stuff that's out there being advertised to consumers in California, telling them to flush them down the toilet. So I agree. We've got a burden of education out there, but I think we also need to focus, and I don't know if it's a 1% solution or a 10% solution. I welcome the studies to help inform this, but it's the percent we control, because we regulate what you can advertise on products here in the state of California. And right now, on our shelves, people are saying, you can flush this down the toilet. This bill is simply saying, while we work on the education piece, let's also at least bring some integrity to those advertising claims like we've done in so many other areas.
And if I can respond to the authors through the chair, I prefer you work with the industry and just, again, eliminate all this stuff from being flushed on, period. I think that's a bigger solution than this.
I don't think they would agree with that, but
thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Do I have a motion? Would you care to close?
I respectfully request your aye vote. Thank you.
So moved.
Negrete McLeod?
Aye.
Negrete McLeod, aye. Wyland? Onestad? Calderon? Correa?
No.
Correa, no. Flores? Flores, aye. Oropeza? Walters? Yee?
Aye.
Yee, aye. 3-1 right now.
Okay, that,
Onestad, no.
Okay. We have 3 votes. We're going to leave that open.
All right, thank you.
Thank
Madam
you.
Chair, if that falls short, would I be able to receive reconsideration?
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you very much. Thanks,
Okay.
members.
Mr. Ng, I know, has been waiting. He has item 10, AB 2289, and item 12, AB 2332. So would you start with item 10, please? Okay.
Madam Chair, is item 10 2289?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair and members. It's always an honor to be in this committee, this particular committee. I want to thank the committee staff and the chair for all their hard work on this bill. I'd also like to provide an update since the release of the committee's analysis that indicates that the California Emissions Testing Industries, CETIA, and the Automobile Service Council of California, ASCCA, are no longer in opposition because all of their issues have been addressed. I've asked the Sergeant, with your permission, to distribute a letter from CETIA, since we'll be amending the bill in the next committee, should the bill pass, to address the concerns raised in the analysis. Specifically, we're going to be allowing test-only stations to own a separate station that performs repairs. We're going to remove the 24-hour notice prior to suspension. Language has been included to provide due process through an informal conference with the bureau chief or his or her designee for appeals on performance standards before complete loss of privileges. And finally, the amendment recommendation regarding the mutual settlement agreement is already addressed in AB 2289, Section 44051. So with that, I'll proceed. This bill follows a national trend, Madam Chair and members, toward using technology to ensure air quality improvement. A recent study based on roadside smog checks found that a large percentage of vehicles in California failed roadside audits after having recently passed a test at a smog test station. In fact, 25% of the problem vehicles in California cause 75% of the vehicle pollution. And when cars pollute, they cause significant health concerns, which are well documented. This bill updates California's smog check program by adopting some of the best practices used in 32 other states. Our bill will modernize the smog check program by requiring the use of onboard diagnostic systems instead of the dynamometer or tailpipe testing for smog tests in cars which are at the model year 2000 and newer. In conclusion, and I have some very qualified people that can testify far better than I can. This bill, first of all, will reduce industry costs by providing more equipment and service options to stations, which will be able to reduce the time that it takes to do testing by as much as 50%. Number two, we're creating job and business opportunities as the new equipment will increase identification of those vehicles that have failed testing and could cause additional repairs by as much as 400,000 vehicles per year, which will result in more business for auto parts manufacturers and retailers in addition to the industry. It will also save consumers time and money. They'll be able to have their smog checks completed by a reduced cost of as much as 50% and in half the time it currently takes now. And most importantly, to our children, this bill will reduce smog-forming emissions by 70 tons a day, which is the equivalent of taking 800,000 vehicles off the road. As sponsors of the bill, I have representatives from the Bureau of Automotive Repair and the Air Resources Board here to respond to any questions or make any comments they care to choose.
Thank you. Witnesses in support.
Rob Oglesby, representing the California Air Resources Board, asking your support of this very important bill that will take a lot of smog pollution out of the air.
Thank you.
Laura Zuniga on behalf of the Department of Consumer Affairs. We're also happy to co-sponsor the bill and thank the author and the committee staff for their work on it. I have with me the chief of the Bureau, Sherry Mill, to answer any questions.
Sherry Mill, Chief of the Bureau. This bill is a culmination of a lot of hard work and a lot of effort by everyone involved, including industry, ARB, and BAR, to make this, I think, a fair bill that implements the law, that goes a long way in helping consumers and helping clean up the air as well.
Okay, now you're all in support, correct? Okay.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Paul Gonzalez on behalf of the South Coast Air Quality Management District in strong support of the bill.
Thank you.
Bill McGavin with Sierra Club, California, in support. There are very few times when you get a chance to vote for a bill that will both cut costs to drivers and reduce air pollution at the same time.
Thank you.
And Bonnie Holmes-Jen with the American Lung Association in California, and we do urge you to vote for this critical update in the smog check program for cleaner, healthier air.
Nidia Bautista with the Coalition for Clean Air, also in support of the bill. We want to thank the Assembly member for bringing it and for the sponsors of the bill as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Tom Addison with the Bay Area Air Quality Management District in support.
Dan Cobb with the Union of Concerned Scientists. For the reasons already stated, we urge support for the bill.
Brendan Tuig on behalf of the California Air Pollution Control Officers Association in support.
Dustin Malone for the California League of Conservation Voters in support.
Sonia Halterman on behalf of the Planning and Conservation League in support.
Okay. Anybody else in support? Is there anybody in opposition?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair and Committee. My name is Charlie Peters, Clean Air Performance Professionals. We represent the people who drive cars in California. We are of the opinion that there is a huge opportunity to improve how smog check works. And that opportunity is to determine if what's broken gets fixed. We do not believe that any of the evaluations that currently exist determine whether or not we're doing anything that's positive. Certainly this new test of OBD2 only, as this Texas news article indicates, doesn't do anything but significantly increase how friendly and easy it is to cheat the cars through rather than to actually find out if in fact they got fixed. If you actually determine whether or not what gets fixed in a small pilot study, that can show how we can better serve the people of California and address the very significant indications of fraud that have been banted around by the parties that have just spoke. And we can do much better at serving the people of California, we believe, cut the environmental impact of the fleet of cars in California in half in a year while significantly reducing the cost to the public. We would petition you to give consideration to further discuss this and look at it. It is quite simple, and we think you can be real heroes to the people of California by improving fraud in the marketplace and the environmental impact of their cars. It's way past time for action to take place. Thank you, Madam Chair. And I can answer any questions.
Thank you. Have you been working with the sponsor of the bill?
I have been to the office and supplied significant information. We provided a proposal that had 3 short paragraphs. One of the paragraphs is in the legislation. There's 2 additional ones that we think is very important to requiring the Bureau of Automotive Repair to work on the quality issue of the program.
Chair?
Yes.
I'll let the opposition.
Okay. Did you wish to?
Yeah, if I can say, I enjoyed working with the industry and the individual here. Let me just say that the testing that we're proposing is already used in 32 states. California was only the 20th to do that. And it's already in effect in 22 states and would apply to 76% of California vehicles. All states that have federally mandated smog programs have already discontinued tailpipe testing except two, and that's Colorado and California. So I believe that those facts speak for themselves, but we are working, and we're happy to take that one point and work with it, and perhaps we can even get closer as the bill moves forward.
Thank you. And Mr. Guerrero.
I'll finish after the opposition.
Okay.
I'll make my question.
Okay. What did you want the opposition to do?
Well, no more opposition.
No, I think
just wanted to ask a quick question of the author, if I can. You testified, Mr. Rang, that 25% of the vehicles are responsible for 75% of the smog, and those would be the older vehicles, correct?
That's correct.
Those would be the vehicles that are probably driven by people who can't afford to upgrade to the newer vehicles. And Sierra Club, I believe, testified that this is a good cost-cutting measure that cleans the air. My concern is that you already have a lot of struggling people in my district who cannot come up to the standards that are currently in law. We're going to modify the standards, and I presume, to a different, probably higher level here, or we're not going to ease up on the standards.
No,
help me out. I don't read minds. Can you tell me what this means, ma'am?
Yes. We have our consumer assistance program to assist people with low income, where we can give them up to $500 to repair their car if they fail smog, and they're in this directed pool. It's specifically targeted for low income people to assist them. And so that money is available to them. We don't want them out there driving their cars, one, if they're polluting, and two, it only causes their car to have further damage by driving it with damage. And so the quicker that we can get these cars in and get them repaired. So we do offer that as a consumer assistance. In terms of this program, the OBD2 only is for the 2000 and newer cars, so that would not affect this directed vehicle pool. The directed vehicle pool would go to the higher performing stations, which are stations that are not intentionally failing these or passing these cars when they should have failed. And so to that extent, that's where we think we will capture cars of, where they should have failed, but they were being passed illegally. So those cars, it should not have an impact.
Why do you think you have cars being passed illegally?
I think, I think it's part of an economic reason as well as other reasons.
It's an economic reason, and your $500 credit, I'll tell you, a lot of my constituents don't use it. I think they just keep driving illegally. Or now that we're cutting back on bus services locally, you put them in a very difficult situation, and that's why I'm always very, very reluctant to support issues like this, because nobody's going to argue that, and certainly I wouldn't. I'm very much supportive of cleaner air, no doubt. But yet, I believe we have some very serious unintended consequences for economically challenged areas like my district. We're already suffering from not 12%, 20% unemployment rate. We're cutting back bus service dramatically in my area. And instead building a light rail, which is interesting, cutting bus service, building a rail, coming in with some of these programs. So I got to tell you, I'm very reluctant to support this measure just based on what I've seen in my district.
Well, I think it's important to know that if the car doesn't fail, then they're not eligible for the CAP program. So passing them illegally doesn't even give them a chance to fix their car. But if they do fail, we do have consumers that do take advantage of this. We'd be more than happy to come into your district. We do that for other senators and assemblymen, and really make an all-out effort to make sure that the people in your district know about the program. We have all of our field offices have been trained, and people can go directly there and get approval on the same day. So we've made every effort to get that word out and to make sure that people know that program exists, and we'd be certainly happy to work with you in your district.
And if I could just add, Senator, thank you for bringing up that point. It deeply affects me when I know that individuals are left out of the economic pot, and particularly have less alternatives. I see myself as an advocate for transit, particularly because it does affect the low income in my area, and working families and even middle class people are now low income. And so I will do everything I can to make sure that there's better education about the CAP program. In addition, there's $1,000 for those vehicles that are beyond repair, and I think that will go a long way as well. And I think the bottom line is that for the vast majority of motorists, we're going to be able to cut their fee for doing the smog testing to 50%. So I think that will affect a great number of people and will be welcome in many of those households as well. But thank you for bringing up that question, and your sensitivity to that section of the community touches me greatly.
Okay. Dr. Aniston?
Yes, ma'am, you used the word fair. And yet, I would have to tell you that one of the parts of the bill that has been amended it has to do with the increased power given to the department to suspend a license. And I hardly think there are two provisions in here that we can use the word fair. First of all, it says the department may notify the offender either in writing or electronically, but that the response by the offender has to be in writing. That's not fair. The fact is that if you want me to respond to your email telling me that I'm in violation, why can't I just hit the reply button and give you a response and email it back to you? And that's fair. If you can do it in email, I should be able to do it in email, requiring them to put it in writing. And a lot of folks just can't do that very well, and then go down to the post office, find the address, and then do it within 5 days. It doesn't say 5 working days. It says 5 days. You're setting them up for failure to begin with. The second thing is that the hearing is being conducted by the very department that is issuing the citation. I mean, let's be fair about it and give it to a disinterested third party. At least if I'm given a ticket for speeding going down the highway patrol gives me a ticket, I get to go to a court and have a disinterested third party look at both sides of the issue. Here you're saying the department can issue the citation, and then your bureau chief, who's under the control of the department, is going to be the one who's going to be the judge and jury. That is absolutely not fair.
The informal hearing process is laid out in the Administrative Practices Act, and that is the one that we follow. After an informal hearing, if they're not happy with the decision, then they can file.
Sure they can, but time is money, ma'am. And for somebody to have their license suspended not 5 days or 10 days, but now 30 days or 60 days, you put them out of business just by an accusation. That's hardly fair.
Well, the reason we want the information from them is that if we have to have clear and convincing evidence before we even issue a citation. And
I don't believe that's true. I mean, I've heard I have been here for 12 years, and if I've heard more complaints about any one agency other than Fish and Game, it's the Bureau of Automotive Repair, and how arbitrary they have been in issuing citations. And so I will not buy the argument that the Bureau of Automotive Repair is going according to the book here every time. I just can't buy that argument. And that's based on 12 years of listening to the complaints from the people that I represent.
And we have taken an amendment to try to be sensitive to that. It may not go as far as I'd like to or we'd like to, but we are moving in that direction. Thank you for your raising that issue.
Any other questions? Would you care to close, Mr. Ng?
Thank you very much, members. Those are very, very important questions, and this is a bill that is very significant, and respectfully request an aye vote.
And the amendments will be taken in transportation.
That's correct, Madam Chair.
Call for the vote.
McGrady-McLeod?
Aye.
McGrady-McLeod, aye. Wyland? Onestad?
No.
Onestad, no. Calderon? Correa?
No.
Correa, no. Flores? Aye. Flores, aye. Oropeza? Walters? Yee?
Aye.
Yee, aye. 3-2 right now.
3-2, and we will leave it open. Okay?
And if the bill should eventually fail, would like to
Reconsideration.
ask for reconsideration. Thank you.
You have item 122332.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair, members. AB 2332, at its core, is a bill about fairness, consistency, and conformity. California contractors currently collect sales tax as part of the price paid for by consumers. For example, if you as a homeowner contract for, say, the construction of a new kitchen or remodel, the price that you pay normally includes equipment such as a dishwasher, microwave oven, or stove. Now, the consumer pays the state sales tax to the contractor, who is supposed to collect that amount for the state of California and in turn remit that amount to the state. The contractor acts as a tax collector, and that portion of the consumer's payment does not belong to the contractor. However, instead of sequestering the sales tax, as you might in a trust account, a small minority of the contractors hold on to the state's share. This creates an unlevel playing field for the thousands of law-abiding contractors who disgorge the state sales tax and remit it back to the state of California so that we can pay our bills. AB 2332 is aimed at those small number of contractors who, after a year of contact with the Board of Equalization, fail to ask for a hardship waiver, which they can qualify for, or ask to be put on a payment plan, which they could also qualify for. Currently, 3 state agencies, which include the Department of Industrial Relations, the Franchise Tax Board, and the Employment Development Department, already request that the Contractor State License Board to take appropriate disciplinary action against a contractor who refuses to resolve outstanding liabilities. This bill simply adds consistency and conformity by adding one more agency, the Board of Equalization, to the existing 3 state agencies that can contact the State Contractors Licensing Board. In response to those that would say that this bill would adversely impact contractors, we note that the Contractor State Licensing Board is in full support of the bill. AB 2332 levels the playing field for more than 95% of law-abiding contractors that play by the rules and brings conformity amongst 4 agencies in order to enforce collection of taxes in compliance with the law. Finally, this bill brings equity to the thousands of consumers who pay sales tax up front to the contractor with the full understanding that this hard-earned amount would go to the state of California. This bill does not remove a contractor's profit and right to a livelihood because the funds collected were not his or hers to keep in the first place. I have witnesses in support.
Thank you. Witnesses.
Yes, I'm John Abbott for the Board of Equalization, and with me is Gina Fong, tax administrator with the board. And I noticed that the Department of Consumer Affairs is opposed to the bill. They have 2 reasons, and one of the claims they make is that this bill will going to drive contractors out of business or drive them into the underground economy. And I'd like to point out this bill does exactly the opposite of that. When most of these contractors have collected sales tax from their customers, and instead of sending it to the board, they put it in their own pocket. And that is the underground economy at work. These contractors are not going to go out of business. The hallmark of the underground economy is non-payment of taxes, not reporting your taxes, not paying your taxes, trying to stay under the radar. And also, we have 20 years of experience with this statute. The Franchise Tax Board has this authority. Employment Development Department has this authority. And for example, with the Franchise Tax Board, they have an 85% compliance rate when they make a request for the Contractor State License Board to suspend a license. 85% of their tax liabilities are paid, and that doesn't even include the compliance after the suspension when the contractor says, oops, I've got to get square with the Franchise Tax Board, I've got to enter into an installment payment plan. Also, Department of Consumer Affairs is opposed because they say that no other business can get their license suspended because of sales taxes unpaid. But in fact, car dealers have this same obligation. DMV can suspend a car dealer's license for non-payment of sales taxes. Also, restaurants and bars can have their liquor license suspended if they don't pay sales taxes. And we have a very high compliance rate for restaurants and bars. When they don't pay their sales taxes, we ask for a license suspension. It works very well. I think you have a right. You have a right to expect the Board of Equalization to do its job effectively, and efficiently, and to do that, we need the power and the authority. So that's why we're asking you to support this bill.
Thank you. Other witnesses in support?
She's here and will answer any questions.
And is there anyone else here in support of the bill? Is there anybody in opposition?
Good afternoon. Brian Warren on behalf of the Department of Consumer Affairs. We believe that this bill could inadvertently lead to people going into practicing without a license, which we think would be it represents a risk to consumers and is also further unfair to those contractors who remain licensed.
That's it?
Yeah.
Oh,
that's
okay.
all.
Anybody else? Is there any questions from the members on this bill? Questions? Nothing? Okay. Mr. Onestad stepped out, so. Would you care to close, Mr. Ng, on this bill?
Yes, there's respectfully request tonight vote.
Okay. Okay, and we are not taking. Okay, and this will go to the Appropriates Committee. All right. Go ahead, call for the roll.
Need a motion?
Need a motion. So moved. Okay.
Grady McLeod?
Aye.
Grady McLeod, aye. Wyland, Onestad, Calderon, Correa, Flores? Flores, aye. Oropeza, Walters, Yee.
Aye.
Yee, aye. 3-0.
Okay, it has 3 votes, but we're going to leave it open. We have members out.
Okay. Request
Thank you.
reconsideration
Yes,
should the bill
thank you
fail.
very much.
Thank you, members.
Okay. Mr. Knight, are you here? He is here. Okay. And he has item 11. As AB 2305.
Yes, ma'am. Good afternoon. Thank you, Madam Chair and members. AB 2305 simply extends the sunset on a program that has proven to help with workers' compensation conformity in the roofing industry. The roofing industry has one of the highest workers' compensation rates. High rates are typically due to underreporting in the industry, which in the end fails to protect workers and shortchanges legitimate contractors. AB 2305 is sponsored by the industry, supported by contractors and labor, and funded by the industry. I have Pat Hoffman here with the Imperial Roofing and president of the Associated Roofing Contractors of Northern California to testify on behalf of the industry and answer any technical questions.
Okay.
Good morning, Madam and Chair members. This bill has been, it's actually to further a sunset date, in essence, of previous AB 881. Our industry has worked in hand with the Department of Insurance and also State Fund, and it's been very productive thus far in bringing about licensed contractors with workers' compensation insurance to protect their workers. What was occurring before with the underground workers or companies that didn't have workers' comp insurance, that was passing along liability to homeowners or business owners in an event of an incident, an injury. So this brings them back into complying with the risk of losing their license should they not have workers' comp insurance. In 2005, there was 4,527 licensed roofing contractors, that claimed exempt, and therefore didn't have to have the workers' compensation insurance. Since the bill was passed, there's been over 935 roofing contractors that now added workers' comp insurance to their business. The bill's been effective. Part of the provisions of the bill is the auditing process that occurs from payroll records and such from the insurance companies. This also helps to make it more difficult to operate illegally in the underground economy.
What causes a roofer to be exempt?
It used to be that they would claim that they would have no employees. And to have no employees, to run a business, manage the business, secure work, load a job, do the work, and so on, it would be an extremely low percentage of contractors that could even be in that condition, extremely low. And yet, over 57% of the contractors before AB 881 were claiming exempt. It's just preposterous.
Okay. They couldn't get the job done with just one person.
No, it's insane.
Okay.
Since AB 881, it puts them in a position where before, by not having your workers' comp insurance, it was a misdemeanor. Now, with it being required, it puts you in insurance fraud, which is a felony now. So it puts more teeth into it as well. We have, like Assemblyman Knight mentioned, we have several labor groups supporting us. State Building and Construction Trade Council of California, United Roofers, Waterproofers. So we have both union and non-union members, both people within the roofing industry and outside in support of this. Our opposition had mentioned in their opposition letter that there's been no data to support the positive influence of this bill. Since then, WCRB, the Workers' Compensation and Insurance Rating Bureau, has come out with their first initial reporting. There's a long lead time in getting this reporting because the year has to close, then they have their auditing time, and then their reporting time. So just in March 1st of this year, we got our first batch of reporting. It has made a positive impact. We've also been able to work with the Department of Insurance on several occasions and also State Fund to help them reel in this underground economy. We're making a positive impact, and to lose this bill at this point in time would really negate the positive ground we've gained.
Okay. Mr. Knight, on page 4 of the analysis, the analysis raises 3 policy issues: conflicting provisions. Other contractors have all licenses suspended. Roofers would only have their individual roofing classification removed. So, I mean, is that an unequal treatment of licensees? And B, the bill appears to be inconsistent with SB 1254. That bill allowed CSLB to issue a stop work order for any contractor who did not have workers' comp. It is quite unclear whether this requirement would now only apply to the roofing classification. And C, it's unclear whether the audits by insurance companies or the reports you just said that they have by the Department of Insurance have been made. The sunset date should not be extended if the audits and reports do not show benefit, much less if the audits have not even been made. You said they did. We have not seen them, have we? No. So where are they?
I'll speak to a couple of these issues.
Okay.
One of them, the original bill, was addressing the C39 license, your roofing contractor license. It addressed that because of the nature of roofing contractors. The injuries are much higher. The workers' compensation was such at a imbalance in this industry that they had to address the C39 license. If you take away the C39, then they can still be a general contractor. It's just that is what establishes you to be a roofing contractor. Mm-hmm. That is your license. That is your designate. As far as the where are we here? I think that addresses 2 of these issues.
Okay. And the reports that we
the reports, the problem is the audit takes 18 months after that period has closed. Mm-hmm. We are seeing some of these audits come March 1st of 2010. That's the ones that we are going through. We have some of the numbers from where the workers' compensation insurance was pre-AB 881 and where we are now. They have dramatically risen. More contractors have workers' compensation. That bill has taken effect, so it has had a positive effect. Pushing back the sunset date just is proof, or just would help, because we have the positive impact of the bill. Why not continue it on?
Okay. Anybody else in support of the bill? Is there any opposition?
Madam Chair and members, Doug Kim with the Applicants Attorneys Association. We respectfully disagree with the representations of the proponents, with all due respect to the author. I want to point out what is being extended in this bill. The sunset that's being extended is that provision, and if you permit me to read it, for any license that is active and includes a C39 classification in addition to any other classification, the registrar of the Contractor State Licensing Board shall, in lieu of the automatic license suspension otherwise required, remove the C39 classification. This means that the only contractor in the state of California that does not have to have workers' compensation insurance is someone who had a C39 classification and then did not have proof of insurance. Now, if removing the classification is the same as suspending the license, then there's no need for this bill. What I have distributed to you is what I believe, what our people believe is perhaps an unintended consequence of the original legislation and which this bill would perpetuate. Because if you remove the classification from a roofing contractor who did not have insurance, we're talking about the scofflaws. And simply taking away their roofing classification, but not whatever other license they have, letting them operate, will do one of two things. They will either operate without insurance and take their chances, or they will misrepresent their payroll, their workforce, what their people do in order to get insurance for a lesser rate than they would pay with a roofing license. So what I've given you are two examples that have occurred in the last 2 months. In the first instance, a roofing employee actually was killed because the contractor did not provide the adequate safety equipment and there was not the appropriate safety supervision. And the contractor was, because of an OSHA investigation, that contractor now is subject to a criminal action. The article further notes that contractor created workers' compensation fraud by misreporting payroll and by obviously misclassifying the employee. In the second example that I've given you, it was a contractor who did everything he could to discourage his employee from filing a workers' compensation claim when he suffered an injury on the job. And only because there were other employees who had the same experience who were being discouraged and complained to the fraud division that this employer was also discovered. What this bill does really is it encourages and perpetuates a kind of workers' compensation premium fraud that I'm certain no one wants to support. And it may be an unintended consequence of the earlier bill, but it is a serious consequence. Now, I have seen no data from the Rating Bureau or anybody else that suggests that the original bill, AB 881 in 2005, has had a positive impact. But I would suggest to you that the provisions, the data required in AB 881, the original bill, require the industry to audit those contractors who possess a C39 classification in their license. That data has no value. What you really want to know is what happened to those people whose C39 classification was eliminated because they were violating the law. Did those people go into the underground economy, or did they take their chances and stay in with bidding for regular jobs and then have experiences such as those that I've just shown you? That's the data we need to know, and the insurance industry does not collect that kind of data. So we're not going to get the actual credible evidence that the positive effect of exempting the most dangerous employer in the construction trades from having to have workers' compensation insurance. It makes absolutely no sense. the analysis appropriately points out that you have conflicting provisions. The Leno Bill SB 1254 requires an immediate stop order to be issued by the board if any contractor does not have proof of insurance. This bill says, but if he's a C39 contractor and he doesn't have insurance, he can keep his license for the other categories. He just can't keep the C39 classification. That would create an ambiguity in the law that would require extensive litigation, and it would, both within the workers' compensation system, and presumably it would be appealed up to the civil courts. So, and in either instance, whether a uninsured contractor, if he goes into the underground economy, those injuries will never be reported. And if they're the treatment that worker is going to seek, or the subsistence income that he's going to seek, it's going to be at the taxpayer's expense. Emergency room treatment, Medi-Cal, general assistance, things like that. If it's underreported, if the person does get insurance, but he doesn't get the right kind because he says, I'm not a roofer anymore, I don't have to get the roofer insurance, I don't have to pay the roofer rates, I can get the lesser rate for whatever other contract I have, then those injuries are not going to be reported as roofer injuries. So what will happen is that the cost of industrial injuries within the roofing industry are going to be shifted to people outside the roofing industry. Now, we're very sympathetic to the high cost of workers' comp insurance for roofers. It's not because there's misclassification. It's because it's a dangerous industry. And there are lots of accidents, and they're very expensive. And I would point out, just in response to the witness's testimony, that there are union workers in support of the bill. This doesn't apply to union workers, because union workers are not going to be signing agreements when they know that their contractor doesn't have workers' compensation insurance. This applies to the non-union contractors. And in workers' compensation, because non-union contractors have a much more serious experience losses, their premiums are more than twice the premiums for union contractors. And it's only because they have their experiences, they have more injuries, they're more expensive, and so forth. That also is not the kind of data that is being collected or can be collected by the Workers' Compensation Rating Bureau. So we believe that however well-intentioned the bill was, and we don't question the good intentions of the bill to try to eliminate scofflaws from the system, this has the reverse effect. It encourages workers' compensation fraud, and it conceals workers' compensation fraud, and it passes the costs on from the roofing industry to every other policyholder and to the general public, the taxpayers, where the contractor is uninsured. So for those reasons, and with all due respect, we would oppose the bill.
Thank you. Anyone else in opposition? Would you care to respond?
Absolutely. I will respond. I'm sure Pat will respond. Yeah, we've had this discussion over 3 or 4 different committees. I think there's a little bit of difference in our way of looking at this bill. AB 881 was not written to reduce injuries. When it was written in 2006 and became effect in 2007, we saw a rise of almost 28% of policyholders for workers' compensation in the roofing industry. It did have an effect. That was the effect they were going for. We understand that there is an underground network. We understand that there's always going to be fraudulent behavior when some unscrupulous people might want to skirt having policies or having protection over their workers. That will happen. If we could write a bill that would always cover everybody and no one would ever have any fraudulent activity, then we certainly would. But the sheer fact of AB 881 of having that much of an increase on the workers' compensation policy through our roofing contractors is enough to me to say that we should extend this sunset. And just by the mere fact that we are now getting this empirical data, that I think the opposition might be a little bit afraid of what's going to come in on this data. extending this sunset would help to analyze this data and see where we're going. But just the mere increase of the policyholders is enough to make this to establish this as good policy and extend the sunset.
Thank you. Any questions? Yes.
Madam Chair, this is not a question to any of the witnesses, but maybe to your staff. In light of the prognostication of Mr. Kim, does your staff have any response to whether or not what he is predicting may happen? Is that going to happen, or do you have any input relative to that?
Mr. Ayers?
G.V. Ayers with the committee. Under the contractor licensing law, the B contractor classification, which is the more broad classification, under that, a number of roofers may have that. Most do not. Most have just the C39 classification, and if that classification is lifted, then they are essentially out of business. Now, if they want to go underground and practice underground, then against the law, then the contractors board can and will take care. Will do that. But if they try to practice roofing under the B classification, if they also have that, then they can't do it under that classification alone. They can't do just a roofing project under that classification. They have to have 2 or more trades with that, so maybe electrical and plumbing as well. But that's allowed under it for any contractor, for any B contractor, not just a roofing contractor. And that is, I understand, talking with the contractors board, a very narrow group of contractors that would apply to. Then, in that case, if they still did not, and they were working and doing this without workers' compensation insurance, the contractors board could suspend their license. They might take away their C39, but if they were still continuing to practice and do that work without any workers' compensation, then the contractors board would suspend their license or give them a stop work order as well.
Okay. May I respond? The contractors licensing board could only do that if they know that somebody is operating without insurance, and they're not going to know that unless there's been some enforcement action by the Division of Industrial Relations or the Fraud Commission or a local DA or OSHA. But otherwise, there's no way the contractors licensing board is going to even know. And I would suggest that the increase in new policies, there's no indication that's related in any way to AB 881. They may be new people in the business. If we knew that they were people who in the past were claiming an exemption and are now purchasing the insurance, that would be a different story. And I've also indicated in prior committees, if the proponents can produce the data, I mean, we're not trying to be to be stubborn about this thing, but we just think as a matter of public policy, you should not exempt somebody from the requirement to have workers' compensation insurance.
If I may interject, Madam. AB 881 also required insurance companies at the expense of the policyholder, part of their premium for the workers' comp, to audit the payroll records of all the roofing company policyholders, bringing in unethical contractors in the above-ground economy. Providing insurance companies with the chance to capture legitimate premium dollars, providing the state with the opportunity for revenues through fines and realization as payroll taxes. It puts someone in the contractor's office to audit their payroll records, to see a portion of their books. This is an advancement in reducing the underground economy, I feel, without a doubt. That before they could just claim exempt and no one knows anything. With this, they do have an audit, and someone does get to look at least a portion of their books.
And you do have the support of the Labor Fed and the state construction trades.
We do. We actually. Excuse me. We actually were opposed, I believe, by the AFL-CIO when we started this out. I believe their latest is a neutral. We've worked with them very hard to get them to come on board, and I believe their last opinion was a neutral.
All right. Any more questions? You have a question?
No.
Your mic's on, so I was just curious.
Huh?
Your mic's on, so I thought, oh, okay, that's all right. Okay. All right. Any more questions? Do I have a motion?
So moved.
So moved. Okay, the bill has been moved.
Negrete McLeod, Wyland, Onestad. Aye. Onestad, aye. Calderon, Correa, Flores. No. Flores, no. Oropeza, Walters, Yee.
Aye.
Yee, aye. 2-1.
Okay. All right. We'll leave that open because we have members out. Okay.
Buchanan.
Okay. We have is Ms. Buchanan here? Okay. Mr. Hill is here also. Ms. Buchanan has AB 2390-13.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members. AB 2390 simply moves up the time when a contractor and subcontractors for public works projects must provide their current license number and proof of workers' compensation insurance by requiring the contractors to provide this information at the time the bid is placed. Unfortunately, in today's tough economic environment, too many contractors are bidding on jobs in areas where they have no prior experience, and too many are bidding without current contractor's license or workers' compensation insurance. Then, if they are awarded the bid, they scramble to update their license and or workers' comp coverage. One must question the legitimacy of such bids, and as you know, public agencies must take the low bid. If the bid is not based on realistic data, change orders and delays in construction follow, leading to increased costs for the projects and the public agency. This bill represents a step forward in obtaining realistic bids by requiring all respondents to provide current contractor's license and workers' compensation insurance numbers when their bids, with their bid submittals, helping to level the playing field for legitimate contractors and workers. This bill is sponsored by the California State Council of Laborers and has the support of many other organizations.
Thank you. Members in support? Members. Go ahead. Support.
Yes, Mr. Chair. Patrick Hay on behalf of the California State Council of Laborers. This bill comes out of some of our meetings. I know, I think just about all the members here on the committee have been to down in the basement of the Capitol on underground economy enforcement that we host once a month. And it is simply a bill that will say there's already a provision of law that says you have to have workers' comp. It's a provision of becoming a contractor in the state. This simply asks for the workers' comp number so that we can provide better information to the awarding bodies throughout the state to ensure that they have proper workers' comp coverage. And we're hopeful with the largesse of the workers' comp fraud industry. The insurance commissioner ranks it at about $11 to $12 billion, that this will go at least a step in that direction. We've worked very hard with our partner contractors on this piece of legislation to achieve that goal, and I think we are very close to that.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, Dave Ackerman, representing the Associated General Contractors. We've been pleased to work with the author on this. We totally support the concept of the bill and the direction. We are just having some final discussions on some language as to how a contractor will verify this at time of bid so that it doesn't result in non-responsive bids by contractors. And we're very close to working out some semantics that maintain still the full intent of the bill, and suggest support.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, Phil Vermeulen, representing the engineering contractors and several other contractor associations. I want to thank the author and the sponsors for working with us, and I believe we're very close, and we're happy to support this bill and see what we can do to get it through. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions? Anybody else in support?
Doug Kim with the applicants' attorneys, and we support this bill.
Anybody else in support? Is there any opposition to the bill? Seeing no opposition, questions from the members?
I do. So it's my understanding that even to bid, does the law read right now that to even bid a contract, you must have workers' compensation insurance in place? Or does it say that once the work starts and you hire the employees, you will have that insurance in place? What does the law say?
The law today requires that after the bid is awarded, you have to show proof of workers' comp and valid license.
You have to show. Let me just add on. I apologize, but you have to show proof once you have it. But at the same time, as a requirement of having a license, much like there's a requirement of driving, you have to have driver's insurance. The current state of the law says that if you have a contractor's license, to have that contractor's license to be valid, you have to have workers' comp coverage in good standing.
Let me tell you why. When the laborers
let me ask you a question.
Okay.
Say I'm a small contractor. I want to bid on a project. I don't have workman's comp insurance now because I have no employees, because I'm not working on any other project. Under your bill, I would not be able to bid the project because I didn't have workers' comp insurance in place even before I hired any subcontractors or employees. But under current law, I could bid it. If I didn't get it, then I would have to show proof of workers' comp. Is that correct?
We're working with the Associate General Contractors and the laborers and think we have a resolution to that. But let me tell you why, when the laborers asked me to carry this bill, I agreed to it. I served on school board for 18 years, and during that time we had about $1 billion worth of construction projects in our school district. We ultimately went to pre-qualification of contractors because too often we would get a range of bids where clearly some of them didn't make any sense. But under the law, you have to provide the lowest bidder you have to award the bid to the lowest bidder, and we found that oftentimes you had the delays, you had all kinds of change orders, you had people who just weren't competent, I would say, doing those projects. I mean, we had a gym that took us longer to construct than an entire elementary school, so we decided to go to pre-qualification. Pre-qualification ended up with lower bids, better contractors, just all the way around. So when I look at this, I just don't think it's unrealistic for someone to provide that information at the time of bid. In fact, I think it enhances or increases the possibility that you're going to get legitimate bids. And as a subcontractor plans to bid on a project, being able to call his insurance company and providing, a number, even though he's not actually paying workers' comp at the time, should not be too much. And certainly, we're hoping to work out where they can give final verification within 5 days after the actual award. So I think that we have a situation where both the contractors and the labor believe this can work.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Did you wish to close?
No, I just respectfully ask for your aye vote. Appreciate your time.
Do I have a motion? Okay, the bill has been moved.
McGrady McLeod?
Aye.
McGrady McLeod, aye. Wyland? Onestad? Calderon? Correa? Flores? Aye. Flores, aye. Oropeza? Walters? Yee? Aye. Yee, aye. 3-0.
Yep.
Onestad, no.
Okay, we have 3, and we're going to leave it open. You're welcome. Okay, Mr. Hernandez, I saw you come in. He has item 14, AB 2551.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Madam Chair and members. This bill seeks to establish a scholarship and loan program for pharmacy technicians. Unfortunately, impacted programs in our community colleges have forced many of these students to seek their education through various private entities, and these institutions tend to have a higher tuition fees for providing these instructions. The average cost can range from $1,500 to $20,000 for a career that generally pays around $35,000 a year, so debt is a hindrance to a lot of these individuals. Here and ask your support and respectfully ask for an aye vote.
Okay, and you can't, anybody in support of the bill? Any opposition? Any questions from the members? Okay, now we take.
I noticed that Norwegian Americans aren't included. They're too smart.
Okay, couple.
McGrady McLeod?
Aye.
McGrady McLeod, aye. Wyland? Onestad?
No.
Onestad, no. Calderon? Correa?
Aye.
Correa, aye. Flores?
Aye.
Flores, I. Oropeza. Walters, Yee. Aye. Yee, aye. 4-1.
4-1, we're going to leave the roll open.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
We have two more authors, and since Ms. Ma is not here, Mr. Hill. Mr. Hill has item 17, 2654.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And members, existing law provides limited protections against fraudulent or deceptive business solicitations and mailings that imply official government status. The solicitation cannot use government symbols or seals and must also contain a specific disclosure that it is not a government document. While deceptive solicitors follow the letter of the law by including a disclosure statement buried deep in the communication within fine print, many of these advertisements look official and appear to be from the state of California. They contain threats of penalties, fines, and suspension, instructions to remit immediately, and terms such as official document to make them appear genuine. AB 2654 seeks to address these deceptive solicitations by requiring conspicuous disclosure of non-governmental status and affiliation on the front and back of each page to avoid any deception, intentional or otherwise. It also requires this disclosure in places where the mailing requests any dollar amount and prohibits the solicitation from stating or implying that mandatory payment is required by law. I've worked with the Secretary of State's office and other agencies to come up with a definition of conspicuous.
Question?
Ask if an author could take a small amendment. Would you add me on as a co-author, please?
I'd be honored to.
With that, I'd like to move the bill.
Okay, you can't until we do it. So I'm going to wait. Okay, go ahead.
Thank you, Senator. Working with the Secretary of State's office, the bill also adds some teeth to assist in enforcement by adding a sentence of up to 6 months in jail and or a fine of up to $2,500. It also establishes a remedy of up to 3 times the amount solicited.
Okay. Are there any supporters of the bill?
Jennifer Speck with the California Association of Realtors in support of the bill. More often than not, these solicitations involve real estate-related services like mortgage modifications, homestead filings, and property tax reassessment services. This bill requires non-government solicitations to prominently display a notice that they are not from a government agency, which will help to protect homeowners from being deceived by misleading solicitations. Thank you.
Anyone else in support of the bill?
Move the bill.
Is there any opposition? Okay. And I don't think it can be added till you make an amendment. Is that correct?
Yes. If you get amended, otherwise.
Okay. We'll work on it, Senator.
Questions from the members? Bill has been moved. Call for the vote.
Grady McLeod?
Aye.
Grady McLeod, aye. Weiland? Onestad?
Aye.
Onestad, aye. Calderon? Correa?
Aye.
Correa, aye. Flores? Flores, aye. Oropeza? Walters? Yee?
Aye.
Yee, aye. 5-0.
Okay, that has enough votes to go out, but we're going to leave the roll open.
Madam Chair, thank you very much. Members, thank you very much. Appreciate the vote.
Okay, we
today.
have one author left, which is Ms. Ma. She's on her way? Okay, she's on her way. Okay, why don't you go ahead and start calling open the roll. And
So we'll start from item 2.
Item 2, number 1 was pulled. Item 2.
AB 1524, Hayashi. The current vote is 5-1. Weiland, Calderon, or Oropeza.
Okay.
Item number 3, AB 1647, Hayashi. The current vote is 4-0. Weiland, Calderon, Flores, Flores, I, Oropeza, Walters. 5-0.
That was the trainers. The opposition was removed. Okay. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Item number 4, AB 1659, Huber. Current vote is 3-0. Weiland, Calderon, Correa.
Aye.
Correa, aye. Oropeza, Walters, Yee.
Aye.
Yee, aye. 5-0.
Okay.
Item number 6, AB 2076. Current vote is 3-1. Weiland, Calderon, Correa.
What spell is this? I'm sorry.
The floor,
Item number 6.
Number 6, the Floral Association.
Okay. Correa, aye.
Correa, aye. Oropeza, Walters. That's 4-1.
Okay, 4-1. Okay.
Item number 7, AB 2104, Hayashi. Current vote is 0-2. Grady McLeod, Weiland, Calderon, Correa, Flores, Oropeza, Yee.
Correa, no.
Correa, no. That's 0-3.
Okay.
Do you want to give that reconsideration?
Well, we'll wait. We'll hold it open.
Item number 8, AB 2111 by Smythe. Current vote is 5-0. Wyland, Calderon, Oropeza, Walters. Item number 9, AB 2256, Huffman. Current vote is 3-2. Wyland, Calderon, Oropeza, Walters. Still 3-2. Item number 10, AB 2289, Eng. By Eng, I'm sorry, Negretti McLeod is an aye on that, and the current vote is 3-2. Wyland, Calderon, Oropeza, Walters. Item number 12, AB 2332 by Eng.
11.
Oh, excuse me.
Eng.
11. We're going to do item number 11 first. My mistake. AB 2305 by Knight. Current vote is 2-1. Negretti McLeod. Wyland, Calderon, Correa.
Aye.
Correa, aye. Oropeza, Walters. 3-1.
Okay.
Keep good on call.
Yes, all of them.
Item number 12, AB 2332, Eng. Current vote is 3-0. Wyland, Onestad, no. Onestad, no. Calderon, Correa, Oropeza, Walters, 3-1.
Okay.
Item number 13, AB 2390 by Buchanan. Current vote is 3-1. Wyland, Calderon, Correa.
Aye.
Correa, aye. Oropeza, Walters, 4-1.
Okay.
Item number 14, AB 2551 by Hernandez. Current vote is 4-1. Wyland, Calderon, Oropeza, Walters.
Okay. Leave it open.
Item number 16, AB 2600. Oh, that's the one we haven't done.
Yeah, we haven't done it.
Sorry. Item number 17, AB 2654 by Hill. Current vote is 5-0. Wyland, Calderon, Oropeza, Walters. 5-0.
Okay, and we'll leave that open. And now we have item 16, AB 2600.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and Senators. AB 2600 would require the Medical Board of California to consider including a continuing education course in the diagnosis and treatment of hepatitis. Chronic hepatitis B affects nearly 280,000 Californians, and chronic hepatitis C affects 450,000 Californians. They are the leading cause for liver cancer and liver transplant in California. Although prevention is possible and treatments are available, many persons at risk for or infected with viral hepatitis are neither tested nor treated due to the lack of knowledge and awareness about these diseases among healthcare providers. This insufficient understanding about chronic viral hepatitis can contribute to continued transmission, missed opportunities for early diagnosis and medical care, and poor health outcomes in infected people. This is not a mandate. We are simply asking the board to consider adding a course in viral hepatitis. With me today is Dr. Mozu and Leslie Benson, as well as maybe answer questions? Yes. These two folks will be testifying today.
SGP said you put them out of work.
Hi, I'm Catherine Wasso, a primary care doctor and medical director at a clinic here in downtown Sacramento. We screen aggressively for hepatitis C. We also treat chronic viral hepatitis. I am a relatively young doctor. I finished my training in 2003. I went through top programs here in the United States. I want to tell you that coming out into the workforce, beginning as a doctor, I was woefully unprepared and really ill-trained to know how to screen, much less diagnose and treat chronic viral hepatitis. It is a very, very significant problem. You all have heard about obesity epidemics and diabetes and HIV. I'm telling you, the problem of chronic viral hepatitis in this country, both B and C, is absolutely, it's going to require something of a revolution in healthcare, and one, in fact, that's now underway, as proven by us being here. Just to give you a sense of the scope of the problem, HIV affects something over 1 million people in the United States. Chronic viral hepatitis affects over 6 million in this country. Of those people affected with chronic hep C, only a fourth of them have been diagnosed. That is an absolutely huge problem. They're going along infected for 20, 30 years. Well-intentioned doctors, emergency room people are being absolutely stunned when these people start showing up with liver failure and liver cancer. Viral hepatitis is oncogenic. It causes cancer. There was a seminal report in January of this year put out by the Institute of Medicine, absolutely lambasting primary care doctors, the whole medical establishment, for being so woefully behind on this epidemic and being caught unawares. They say that it is a problem of a lack of knowledge and awareness in the medical community itself, particularly amongst primary care doctors, that's in fact making for the current situation, which has extreme economic repercussions. So I encourage you to vote yes on this. We are not trying to force the medical board's hand. I'm a primary care doctor. I have to get my license renewed every 2 years, and I have 50 units that I have to get. 12 units 2 years ago I had to get in pain management. Did I grumble about it a little bit? Probably. But as a physician, we know, sometimes we have to do things that wouldn't always be our first choice. And certainly the scope of this problem and the misperceptions that are currently existing in the medical establishment really, I think it makes it incumbent on us to push this through and maintain our role in California. Our ethnic mix, we have a lot of the viral hepatitis, and continue to be proactive amongst all the states and set this example. Thank you.
Thank you. Others?
Yes, I'm Leslie. I'm Leslie Benson. I had hepatitis C. I was treated and cured 7.5 years ago. Prior to that, I had a very lucrative and very successful career in broadcasting with an emphasis on health marketing and cause-related marketing. In fact, I got diagnosed because I recruited the sponsor for the annual blood drive, gave blood, and got a letter saying I had hepatitis C. I was then recruited as a blood research donor, and I shared those results as part of the research project with 5 different doctors that were assigned to me as primary care physicians. Not one of those doctors knew enough to vaccinate me against A and B. Not one of them knew enough to look beyond the liver function panel. The neglect of my care because of provider ignorance cost me my job. I lost my job at KCRA because of my inability to work. At the same time, my provider was telling me, I'm fine, no problem, your liver function panels are all right, and I was dying. If this was 7, 8 years ago, you'd have to reach me at home in bed. I was too tired to get up. I dumped that doctor, got a second-year resident who had been to a brief didactic on hepatitis who immediately scheduled a biopsy. That biopsy was the pathway to treatment. I was treated and completely restored for health, but not after losing my income. I was earning in the low 6 figures and went to destitute, on disability, and had a catastrophic medical bankruptcy and lost my house ultimately. The bare minimum training that this second-year resident got was enough to get me transferred in the direction toward wellness. I am now gainfully employed. I founded an agency, and our hallmark program is a CME provider training program that is every month called Moving Mountains. In fact, Dr. Moiseau got the training that qualifies her to treat hepatitis in-house now because of the Moving Mountains training program.
Thank you.
Glenn Backus on behalf of the California Hepatitis Alliance, 85 clinics and organizations statewide in support.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in support?
Madam Chair, move the bill.
Is there anybody in opposition?
Clarify, Madam Chair, Tom Riley with the California Academy of Family Physicians. We had been opposed. We've been working with the author and the sponsors. We think we've resolved our differences, and we look forward to working with them to make sure it moves along.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Others in opposition?
Good afternoon. Brian Warren on behalf of the Department of Consumer Affairs. We understand the motivation behind this bill, and we're sympathetic to the intent, but we believe it's unnecessary. If the board does determine that there's a widespread lack of knowledge about the diagnosis of any specific medical condition, the board already has the authority to require specific training via regulation, and a bill is not necessary for that.
Thank you. Questions from the members? The bill has been moved. Call for the vote.
Negrete McLeod?
Aye.
Negrete McLeod, aye. Wyland? Onestad? Onestad, aye. Calderon? Correa? Flores? Oropeza? Walters? Yee? Yee, aye. 3-0.
Okay. It has 3, but we're leaving it open because we have members running in and out.
Thank you very
Thank you. Okay. Is the other member arrived?
Yes.
Okay.
He's checking into assembly, making these come right here.
Okay. Checking into assembly banking? Doesn't that his committee?
I'll get it.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and open the 17, item 17.
Item 17, AB 2654. Wyland? Calderon? I'm sorry. Excuse me, I pulled out the wrong one. My brain's not working. Item number 16, AB 26.
No, 17. Yeah, 16. Yeah.
Wyland, Calderon, Correa, Flores.
Aye.
Flores, aye. Oropeza and Walters. That makes it 4-0.
Okay, 4-0. So, Mr. Flores, I think you voted on everything already. So, if you want to go ahead. I'll just wait for.
Great.
Yep.
The man Mr. Calderon's coming. He was signing the banking.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, we'll go through that real quick.
Okay, we'll go through.
When is our next committee hearing?
Next week. Next Monday.
And after that?
Who knows?
Next year I'll see you again then?
No, well, we may be here in July.
Oh.
I don't want to be here.
We may be here.
But no bills.
Well, who knows? Okay. So we're going to go ahead and start. Do you have your list?
Yes, thank you.
Item 1 was pulled by the author.
Okay.
Okay. Item 2, AB 1524. Should this pass, this goes to appropriations. So we'll start with item 2.
Okay. Aye.
Wyland, Wyland, Calderon, aye. Oropeza. So that passes 6-1.
That passes 6-1, and it goes to appropriations. Item 3, Hayashi. With amendments.
Current vote is 5-0. Calderon.
Aye.
Oropeza. Walters.
And this goes to education. Double referred. She'll take the amendments there. Item 4, Huber, AB 1659. This is due past two rules.
Current vote 5-0. Wyland. Calderon.
Aye.
Calderon, aye. Oropeza. Walters. So that's 6-0.
5 was proposed consent. Okay. Item 6 is 2076, and this is as amended to appropriations.
Wyland. Calderon.
Aye.
Calderon, aye. That makes that 5-1. That passes out.
Okay, Hayashi, AB 2104. Should this pass, this goes to judiciary. No, this one goes to appropriations.
Current vote 0-3. Negretti McLeod. Wyland. Calderon. Flores. Oropeza. Yee. Fails 0-3.
That bill fails. It is noted reconsideration. Item 8, Mr. Smythe, is AB 2111, and that passes to judiciary should it go.
Current vote 5-0. Wyland. Calderon.
Aye.
Calderon, aye. Oropeza. Walters. Passes 6-0.
To judiciary. Okay, item 9, AB 2256. That is to environmental quality.
Current vote is 3-2. Wyland. Calderon.
No.
Calderon, no. Oropeza. Walters. That fails 3-3.
Okay, that bill fails. Reconsideration is noted. Okay, item 10, Mr. Ng, 2289.
Current vote is 3-2. Wyland. Calderon.
No amendments were taken on that bill? None offered?
Not here.
No, any amendments should be taken in trans.
Yeah, there were
Did
amendments.
Senator
Yes.
Correa discuss any options during the hearing?
He did. He asked, but Mr. Ng is going to continue to working with the opposition.
How did the chair vote on this?
I voted aye.
Aye.
Calderon, aye.
Okay, that passes to trans.
No, it doesn't.
No, it does not.
4-2.
Okay, so that fails.
Mm-hmm.
That fails. Reconsideration noted. Okay. Item 11.
Thank you.
Current vote 3-1. Negretti McLeod.
Aye.
Negretti McLeod, aye. Wyland. Calderon.
Sorry, what's the vote on that?
Current vote right now is 4-1.
Aye.
Calderon, aye. Oropeza. Walters. That passes 5-1.
Okay, that passes, and that is going to labor and to labor. Okay.
Item
12 now.
Current vote is 3-1. Wyland. Calderon. Correa.
Had the chair vote on that?
Chair is an aye.
This is Board of Equalization.
Pay your taxes.
Pay your taxes.
Aye.
Calderon, aye. Correa. Oropeza. Walters. Fails 4-1.
That bill fails. It goes, reconsideration noted. Item 13, 2390.
Current vote 4-1. Wyland. Calderon.
Aye.
Calderon, aye. Oropeza. Walters. Passes 5-1.
That bill passes, and it goes to GEO. Item 14, 2551.
Current vote 4-1. Wyland. Calderon.
Aye.
Calderon, aye. Oropeza. Walters. That passes 5-1.
That passes to health. Item 15 was a consent item.
Yeah, we're not going to. I have a consent calendar to call at the end.
Yeah, okay. Item 16, 2600.
Current vote 4-0. Wyland. Calderon.
Aye.
Calderon, aye. Correa. Oropeza. Walters. Passes 5-0.
That passes to appropriations. Item 17, 2654.
Current vote 5-0. Wyland. Calderon.
Aye.
Calderon, aye. Oropeza. Walters. 6-0.
That passes to appropriations, and we have the consent calendar.
Wyland. Calderon.
Aye.
Calderon, aye. Oropeza. Yee. You can get on there. So it passes
Okay.
6-0.
Okay.
Passes.
Consent calendar passes 6-0. Okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Thank you. Committee is closed.